Dedicated. Okay. King of Kings. Woo. Dedicated. Stand on the Bible is predicated. Been tall, spirit elevated. Align with the word that activated. Dedicated. Stand on the Bible is predicated. Been tall, spirit elevated. Align with the word that activated. Dedicated. Stand on the Bible is predicated. Been tall, spirit elevated. Align with the word that activated. Dedicated. Woo. Dedicated. 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 King of Kings, my Elohim is the Most High, yeah. King of Kings is my Elohim is the Most High, yeah.
All right, Shabbat Shalom to the family. Moreh Rick, he had some things to take care of this Shabbat, so he asked me to step in for him. So I'm gonna give y'all what the Most High had for me on Thursday. We're gonna bring it out today. Shouldn't be too long. I'm not gonna hold y'all, but we're gonna continue on this series, Wars Against the Inner Man, and this is gonna be part 3 of that series, and we're gonna be talking about fear and doubt versus meekness. And so when the Most High gave this to me earlier on this week and throughout my study, one of the things that he was bringing out to me is how fear and doubt can, that's one of the, or those are two spirits that try to combat us being meek. And when we talk about meek, first and foremost, that's being submissive and obedient to the Most High, and then being able to give the word out in the same way. And so fear and doubt can actually, it can suppress that, right? And there's a lot of things that come with fear and doubt when we're talking about, trying to be meek before the Most High. There's a lot of symptoms that can arise out of it. Depression being one of them, those type of things that we try to combat. I don't know if we'll get too deep into that. I think, throughout the scriptures that the Most High gave me, we'll be able to see some of those things. But really what I want to bring out to the family today is just what I hope you get out of it is not to allow fear and doubt to keep you in a place where you can't serve, or where you won't serve the Most High, right? And truth in the spirit. We know that meekness, and we're going to read it, is one of the fruits of the spirit. It's one of the things that we should walk in always, right? But anytime we try to walk in one of the, or I'll say, anytime we try to walk in one of the characteristics of the fruit of the spirit, there's always going to be things that try to combat it, try to war against us to keep us from walking in that fully. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be love, whether it be joy, whether it be gentleness, temperance, any of those things, there's always going to be a war that goes on as soon as the Most High tries to give us a word to be meek, or to walk in meekness. It's going to be a contrary word that tries to oppose it and come against us, so that we are not obedient to the Most High. And so this is just one of the characteristics that we're going to cover today as we go through the scriptures. And hopefully, y'all are getting an encouraging word out of it, because this is something that we have to make sure that we got to make sure that we're being obedient in these last days, and that we truly are doing everything that we can to walk in the characteristic of Hamashiach, to walk in this Ruach, to be obedient to his power and to his authority, because when the time comes where that sky cracks, right, and we know Hamashiach is coming back, when that time comes, even the scriptures tell you that no man can work, right, when that hour comes. So we have to make sure that we're preparing ourselves now, that we're being perfected now in his likeness, so that when he does come, when we do bow down physically before him, we'll do it in joy, knowing that the kingdom is near, knowing that the kingdom is here, right? We won't do it in fear, knowing that our destruction is near, right? So we're going to pray in. We'll come from 1 Corinthians 1:10. We're just going to cover a few scriptures this afternoon, and then we're going to bid each other a farewell, so we can get some rest and enjoy the rest of the Shabbat. All right. Anybody got anything that we need to pray for? Anybody we need to pray for? Anything y'all want to bring out before we get started? Anything on your heart, mind, or soul?
Can you pray for Vanessa? She found a lump in her breast, and she's going to the doctor on the 31st to find out what it is.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? All right, y'all. All right. So, and something that we all know, but when we offer up these prayers to the Most High, we know first and foremost is His will be done. Everything that we have to go through, everything that the Most High has for us to go through and endure. Some of those things are purpose in this time, y'all. So I never want us to be under any type of delusion when it comes to the things that we have to face. Because some of those things are purpose for such a time as this, in order to get us to a place of repentance, or to be an example or a testimony for others. So we always have to be mindful of those things in this current time that we in, y'all. All right, but we definitely will lift up prayers for any and everybody who needs it, and then let the Most High work. All right, anything else? Anybody else? Once, going twice. All right, y'all. Let's pray and then we're gonna get started. But y'all, we just thank you. We give you all praise, honor, and glory first and foremost for allowing us to come together, for allowing us to come into your rest on another Shabbat right now. We thank you right now for the love that you have commanded towards us. We thank you right now for bringing us into your covenant. We thank you right now for not being a man that you should lie. You are the one who has kept your promise since the foundation of the world right now. You have kept us covered. You have kept us sealed. Even through our disobedience right now, you have made a way, an entrance for us to come in and to serve you and to worship you and to give you all the honor and all the praise and all the glory. And we do so on this very day, knowing that you will strengthen us up, knowing that you will restore us, knowing that you will give us what we need in this hour so that we can go through another week and face all trials, all tribulations, anything that you have set before us in order to make us perfect in your eyesight, in order to perfect us, in order to keep us in the way of obedience right now. And so we just pray that you would bless the word that is coming forth, that you would bless all hearts and minds that are going to speak on today. Let every word that comes forth be for the edification of your body right now, in order to bring us further and further into oneness, first and foremost with you as our head, our King, Yahushua HaMashiach, and then together as a body, a group of members working together hand in hand in order to fulfill your will. Right now, we pray for those who had a heart to be on and could not. We ask that this word will reach them wherever they are right now. We pray for those who are under any form of sickness right now, anybody who's going through any type of trial or tribulation where they are down right now. We just pray that your word will reach them wherever they are, that you would comfort them in this hour, and that you would bring them into a place of repentance, that you would bring them into a place of seeking you, of seeking your rest. If they are doubting, if they are discouraged, if they are feeling any type of regret or sorrow right now, any spirit that is not of you right now, we pray. I pray for my cousin Vanessa right now. I pray for our sister right now. I pray right now that you would be with her, that you would silence her mind in this hour, that you would allow only positive things, only your words to reach her right now. We pray that you would heal her, but as she goes through this trial, as she goes through her examinations, doctor's appointments, things like that, that she would keep her mind focused on you, that you would send a word down to call her into repentance for any dead works, anything that she is currently walking in right now, that you would have her to fully repent and turn back to you, knowing that tomorrow is not promised. And let that word likewise go out to the rest of the body, that tomorrow is not promised, that we don't know when we're going to take our last breath, and that we need to seek you today, that we need to seek you in this hour, that we need to be on bended knee right now, giving you the praise, honor, and glory right now, because you are the one who can receive us in the end. You are the one who is going to awaken us to righteousness if we are obedient servants to you in this hour. So we just pray that you would send your voice down to her right now, that you would comfort her, that you would bring her into a place of peace right now through what she's going through. And we pray a good report return back likewise. And we just thank you, Father. We thank you. We thank you. We ask you for forgiveness for our transgressions, for our iniquity, anything that we walked in, any of our thoughts that we walked in throughout this week. We just pray that you would forgive us for it. We pray that you would allow us to enter in right now, that you would create an atmosphere that is fit for you to dwell in, so that your children can receive your word that you will bring forth right now. We just pray understanding be had. We pray that knowledge and wisdom be increased of who you are and what we need to do in order to receive your love and to walk in your love, and to give out that same love likewise to those who you would bring us across, to those who we would minister a word to right now. We just can't thank you enough for just how great you are, how mighty and how powerful you are, and how loving and compassionate you are, and how graceful and merciful that you are right now. And so we just pray that you would just give us that joy, that you would just continue to bring us into your ruach, that you would continue to comfort us as we go through, as we continue to seek you and search you out right now. We pray all these things in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. Hallelujah. All right, 1 Corinthians 1:10, family, and we're going to get it. It says, "Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment." Hallelujah. All right, and so again, the title of the lesson is going to be Wars Against the Inner Man, Fear and Doubt versus Meekness. Fear and Doubt versus Meekness. So for those who haven't been on the studies that we've done on Thursday, who haven't caught those yet, we've been going over the wars that come against the inner man, which is us, inside, right? Not outwardly, not fleshly, but the spirit that dwells within us. We know that there is constantly a war that's coming against us, right? We war not against flesh and blood. We war. The war doesn't come outwardly, but it is of our members that causes us to transgress and go against the Most High, right? That is the battle that we fight. And so that's what we've been going over, is how to combat that. And we're going to do a brief little recap here. I want to go over just a couple scriptures so that we get an understanding of how we fight these battles, right? Because it is, even though we fight these things outwardly and we combat them outwardly, is really the Ruach working within us that is fighting a true battle, right? Trying to bind the strong man, trying to bind those spirits of fear, anxiety, depression, bitterness, any of those things that are within us, is trying to bind those things and to remove those things, to spoil it with his goods, so that we can be whole, right? We could be righteous. And so we always have to make sure that in everything that we do, we are leaning and resting on the Most High, that we are praying to him, that we are meditating on his word, that we're doing everything that we can to stay on the path of obedience. That way he can direct us, he can lead us and guide us through anything and everything that we can go through, that we may go through. All right. It's only when we get beside ourselves and we think that we have the knowledge to overcome something that we find ourselves in more trouble than we should have been in. All right. Let's go to Romans 8 real quick. Romans 8. And we're going to start around verse 24. Oh, hold up. I'm sorry. Let me read that. Did I read 1 Corinthians one time? I did read it. I read it. I read it. Let's see. Romans 8. All right, just so we get an understanding of how the spirit works, right? Whenever we pray, whenever we speak to the Most High, whenever we offer up our prayers and our supplication to Yah, it's not the words that you say, it's not the things that you physically say that the Most High is dealing with. With what you offer up to him, it's the spirit inwardly that is that is working on the inside, that is actually that is actually given to the Most High what is needed for you to be healed, for you to be made whole, right? This is how when we pray for something, we don't know how it's going to come. We don't know how healing is going to come. We don't know how deliverance is going to come. We don't know how we're going to be free from something, right? But if we are obedient, if we're walking in obedience, then whatever comes, right? The Most High will give you discernment. He'll give you understanding. He'll give you wisdom on what's going on as you're going through the trial, letting you know that this is me. This is something that you have to go through in order to be delivered, right? And so deliverance comes in many ways, but as long as we are in right standing with the Most High, as long as we are in place, we're gonna be all right, right? We're gonna be all right because the Most High is with us. So I want us to cover this. What I said, 24. It says Romans 8:24. It says, "For we are saved by hope." It says, "But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why does he yet hope for? Or what does he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose," right? So it says that likewise when the Spirit, 26, it says, "Likewise the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought." So when you get down and pray, you could be praying over any circumstance, any situation. You could be praying for guidance. You could be praying for deliverance through something, but you don't know how it's going to come or how it needs to come or what you need to go through in order to receive deliverance. But the Spirit, while you are praying, is making intercession for you. The Ruach, the comforter that's within you, is making intercession on your behalf, offering up those words that you truly need to be saying, right? Or that truly need to be offered up so that you can receive deliverance. So the Spirit, it makes intercession for you. I was about to say naked, right? I'm speaking King James all over the place, right? But it says the Spirit, it makes intercession for you with words that cannot be uttered, right? Intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered, with things that you can't utter out of your mouth. So as you're praying, the Spirit within you is also offering up that intercession with what you truly need, right? And it says that what does the Most High do? What does our King do? It says, "And he that searcheth the hearts know what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God," right? So as you are offering up your prayer and you're giving the Most High control and authority over that situation or whatever it is that you're going through, right? It says that the Most High is then going to search you out, right? He's going to search you out because he knows what you need. He's going to search you out and give you exactly what you need in order to endure, in order to be delivered, right? In order to be made whole. This is what the Father does when we give him control. We give him full authority over every aspect of our lives, right? And so what does that look like? That is meekness. That is being humble to him. With everything and anything that you go through, right, you have to first say within your heart that I can't do this, right? I don't have the power and authority in order to do this, to control the situation, right? I can't put forth my intellect and then think that something good is going to come out of it. Why? Because there's no goodness that dwells in man. And so it doesn't matter what it is that I'm dealing with. I have to go before the Most High and then allow the Spirit to make what? Intercession. Right? I had to give the Most High control over the situation. I have to humble myself down and understand that I can't do it. Right? That I can't do it. That there's no power in me to conquer these spirits and principalities that dwell in high places. Right? The only way to bring those things into captivity, the only way to be delivered from the things that are trying to have me bound to wickedness, right, to iniquity, is to give control to Abba, right? That's the only way to do it. Did I want to keep reading down? We can keep reading down. Let's verse 29. It says, "For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. For whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we say then to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifies," right? So if you give him control over the situation, it is him that is going to lead you and deliver you. It is him that is going to bring justice to whatever your situation is, right? Going to keep you on right standing. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 10. And then we're going to get into this. All right, 2 Corinthians 10. I just want y'all to see how important it is that we give everything to Christ, that we give everything to Hamashiach. He has to be the one that's in control. He has to be the one that has authority. Right? He has to be the one that we humble out to, right? That we get on bended knee for. He's the one that we give praise, honor, and glory for through everything, not just through some things, not just through the small things or just the big things, thinking that we can take care of the small things. No, through everything, we have to give him authority over that situation in our daily lives. This is why this should be the first thing that we do before we even start our day, right? It's the first thing that we should do is what? Give him control and authority. Get on bended knee and say, Abba, please lead me throughout the day. Guide my footsteps. Let me not lean on my own understanding. All right? Because the war, the battle that's being fought, we can't win this war. We can't win this war. Is that Mother Barbara?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hallelujah. She don't want us to know she could talk, y'all. Y'all heard her. All right. 2 Corinthians, I'm sorry. 2 Corinthians 10, starting at verse 1. It says, Now I, Paul myself, beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in presence am base among you, but being absent and bold toward you. But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with the confidence wherewith I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walk according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. So he says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, right? You can't fight this war that's coming against your mind with carnal things, right? This is not something that can be purchased. It's not something that you can, it's not something that you could watch, or it's not something that you can walk in physically that's going to deliver you. The weapons of our warfare are spiritual, because the powers that be that are fighting against us are spiritual, right? And this is the mistake that we make sometimes. We think that when we're facing a person that's angry, when you're coming to a person that's walking in jealousy, that when you're coming to a person who is dealing with anxiety or any type of fear, when these things are in us, sometimes we think that these things are physical things that are causing it. And so we try to combat these spirits physically, not understanding that it's a spiritual spiritual battle. All right. You can't combat something physically that is spiritual. It's not going to work. These things can only be, this war can only be fought, what? Spiritually, through the Most High. He's the only one that can do it. He knows exactly what you need to arm yourself with. He knows exactly what you need to do spiritually. He knows exactly what word to give you, what you need to be walking in, right? He can tell you what to do spiritually that's going to manifest outwardly so that you can receive deliverance. But a lot of times we think we can just fight this thing just on a physical plane, on a physical surface, and it's going to work. You can't combat somebody who's walking in anger with anger, right? Or you can't combat them with just words. Without going before the Most High first, man, you don't know what words to tell them in order to what? Bring them into peace. In order to bring them into a place where they can receive it. You don't know what they are in need of because it's a spiritual battle. All of these things are spiritual. And so we have to learn to fight them spiritually. Whenever you're dealing with an individual and you notice that they're walking under a certain spirit, that is something that has a hold on them, you should be going before the Most High and praying for them. Because what? This is the war. This is where the battle was fought. All right. Let's read that again. It says, starting from verse 3, it says, For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down what? Imaginations, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Right? Having in readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. This is the grace and mercy that we have been afforded by the Most High. He's waiting. Even when you go back to that Romans 8, if you read back further, it says, man, that the whole creation is groaning, just waiting for the Son of Man to come forth, to be manifest. It's waiting for those who the Most High has called to walk in fullness of obedience so that judgment can come. This is the grace and mercy that the Most High has given to us. He's given us time to what? Seek after him, to bring every thought into captivity, to bring everything to him, to be perfected in him, to be walking in him 100%. Right? To the best of our knowledge, this is what we should be doing. This is what we should be practicing. But are we? Right? It is a tough road, but we make it easy when we allow ourselves to be subject to outside thoughts, to worldly thoughts that are trying to come against the ruach. It's trying to come against your mind. It's trying to bring you into a mind of iniquity. It's trying to bring you into a place of doubt and a place of fear, among other things. Right?
Can I say something?
Please bring it up.
All right. So I feel like verse 6 is a key verse in that he's saying having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So therefore we can't help someone else walk in obedience until we are walking in obedience. So we have to take care of when it comes to the before scriptures, the words that were spoken before, those things have to be worked out within us before we can go back and help someone else. So there's a lot of times where we want to, as it is, take the log out of somebody else's eye when we've forgotten that we also have a stick in our own eye. And so we can't do that until we are walking in total obedience to him. We can't help somebody get that log out. We can't do it until we're walking into obedience and have captured our own thoughts and have warred with our own flesh and brought it in alignment with the Most High. So I think that's a key verse for this scripture.
Absolutely. Good bring out, Iman. Absolutely. That's a key thing. That's what this whole thing is about. When we talk about the wars against the inner man, it's dealing with us first. right? There's nothing that you could do for anybody else. You can't help anybody else unless you are subject to the Most High, unless you are a vessel that's fit for his use. Man, there's so many things within us that he has to bring us out of before we're fit to deal with certain situations. But a lot of times we try to deal with those situations thinking that we have the tools before we approach the Most High. Because he'll tell you a lot of times, man, you can't deal with a person that's angry. Why? Because you still got anger and bitterness in you. And if that person say the wrong thing, man, it'll get you what? Out of the spirit. It'll get you into a place where now you can battle with them. And now you got to bring forth repentance. Right? It's a lot of things that he has to bind up within you before you can do the work that he set out for you to do. Right? It doesn't mean that you can't do any works. As he gives you guidance, as he gives you instruction, right, he'll lead you to do certain things, but it's going to be what you can handle. He's not going to put more on you than you can bear. Right? It's when we try to do too much. It's when we try to do extra. Right? When we try to do more than he's asking us, what he's asking of us, that we find ourselves heavily burdened, right, and worn down. Let's cover this scripture real quick too. Let's go to Matthew. Oh, is it Matthew? Nah, it's gonna be that. Let's go to Mark 3. Let's go to Mark 3. That's what I was looking for. Since Ema said that, let's get this understanding. We brought this out the last couple of studies, but I want to continue to put us in remembrance of what Hamashiach is doing, right? But this is a twofold word that's coming forth, because not only is this what Hamashiach is trying to do with us, but this is what Hasatan is trying to do with us as well, right? When we talk about entering the house of the strong man and binding him, right, so that you can spoil his goods, right? That's what Hamashiach is doing when we first come to him. That's what he's doing on a repetitive basis, right? He's trying to bind up those things within us that are against him, right? He's trying to spoil those goods, the things that come along with anger, the things that come along with wicked lust and things like that. He's trying to bind up all of those characteristics that come within it. He's trying to spoil those things so that he can fill it with his spirit. But Hasatan is trying to do the same thing. Trying to bind up that ruach. The only way it can happen is if you allow it, right? If you don't stay connected to the Most High, then you're gonna allow words of doubt. You're gonna allow words of fear. You're gonna allow words of anxiety. You're gonna allow words of jealousy to creep in, and it's gonna bind up that goodness that's within you. It's gonna bind up that righteousness that's within you. Right? And you're going to start walking in things that you know you shouldn't be walking in. All right, let's read this. We're running from verse 23. All right, remember he had just healed a man, and they said that he was casting out demons by Beelzebub, right, which was a chief demon. All right, but look at what he says here. It says, and he called them unto him. He called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. If a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. If Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind a strong man, and then he will spoil his house. Verily I say unto you, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wherewith soever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost have never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation, because they have said he have an unclean spirit. And so you had Hamashiach coming and delivering men by the spirit of by the Holy Spirit, right? By the Ruach HaKodesh. He was delivering them, and they were saying that this was the work of the devil. He was coming in and he was binding up what had these men captive, these men and women, right? And delivering them so that they can walk in newness of life. And they said that this was the work of the devil. And he says, any man that looks at the work of the Most High, the work of the Spirit that's making a person whole again, and who says that this is the work of the devil, anybody who blasphemes the Spirit, he says that cannot be forgiven. Right? Because you're seeing something that's good, you're seeing something that you know Satan can't do, and then you're accusing that of being the work of a devil. Knowing darn well that the devil can't cast out the devil, or he won't. Right? Because then his house is no more. Why would he come against himself? And so they're seeing him do these good works, and because of what's in them, because of the spirit that dwells within them, they're coming against these works because of their jealousy, right? And because of their envy of Hamashiach. And he was saying that these type of things can't be forgiven you because you're seeing a righteous work being done. You're seeing men and women become whole, and you're coming against that work. Right? You're coming against that work. Instead of coming to me for healing, instead of coming to me so I can bind the spirits that's within you, right, that's causing you to rise up against me, you rather condemn the work that's being done. That can't be forgiven. Right? These are the things that we got to be conscious of, family. Go ahead, Iman.
And I was just going to add, or even just coming to him for understanding. So if you don't have understanding, come to him for understanding. You won't even come for that. You see the miracles, you see everything, and you may not have a true understanding, but ask, that so that he can give you that enlightenment. I also had wanted to add that, obedience to me equates to trust. And so in order for us to be obedient, we have to trust, because you can tell me to go do something, don't mean that I trust that what you're telling me to do is right. But it equates to trusting him. And when you trust him, you will be obedient to him as well.
Right. And the thing with the Most High is this is what makes his walk so beautiful is that like he builds the trust up. Right? When he comes to us, he builds that trust. He gives us a reason to be obedient to him. Right? He shouldn't have to. We have the words written right here. We should be able to read it, understand what it's him, and then just walk in it wholeheartedly. But he builds that trust within us. That's why he doesn't put more on us than we can bear. Right? He takes us in baby steps, man. He feeds us with milk first, and then he gives us honey. This is the grace and mercy of the Most High that he will build you up gradually so that you trust in him, right? But as he calls us higher, and as the trials, the things that we have to deal with, the tribulations that we have to go through, as they increase, right? We have to have that same amount of trust in him. But that's where we struggle, is that when we reach a new area, right? Something that is unfamiliar to us, even though there's nothing common under the sun, we try to switch the routine up, right? We don't want to do the same things that got us to the dance the first time. We want to try to do something different, thinking that, oh man, we've been in this walk for a minute, right? We got a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of wisdom. And so we should be able to handle these matters by ourselves instead of coming to the Most High like we've been doing when we first needed to be delivered from things, when we first needed to be brought out of things. All right. But we start to get beside ourselves and we start to think that we know. And that's where we get in trouble. Right. Because whenever you leave the Most High out of the equation, you allow Hasatan to work. Right. That's all he's waiting on is just an opening to sow seeds. And then once he sows seeds, and once you take that seed on, once it starts to bear fruit, then you're going to start walking in iniquity. You're going to start walking in sin. You're going to start doing things that bring forth death. And the one thing that you don't want to happen is you walk in it to the point where you start to delight in it, and it starts to bring pleasure to you, and you stop seeking the Most High. Right? You stop seeking his word. You don't desire it anymore. Right? You don't want to get to that place. We already covered that. That's that reprobate mind. You don't want to get to that. You don't want to get to that place. All right, we'll just leave it at that. Let's go to. Are we done with that? 2 Corinthians. Yeah. Let's go to Galatians 5. Then we're gonna get into this word meekness and get that thing rocking. All right. We're not going to go over the words fear and doubt today. We're just going to cover the word meekness, and just a basic understanding of what fear is. Right, there is a double meaning to fear, or it's a twofold word. Right, it has a positive and a negative. Right, if you fear the things of the world, then you're gonna reverence those things over the Most High. It's gonna bring you to a place to where you exalt yourself over the things of the Most High. Right, but you can also have a fear of the Most High, which is what we should have, which is a reverence of Him, and we're gonna cover that in the Scripture. All right, when we look at fear and doubt go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. A person who's afraid, or a person who fears the things of this world, a person who fears condemnation when it comes from this world, from people, from loved ones, no matter who it is. Once you have fear, doubt is going to be established. Right? Once you start to fear and exalt those fears above the Most High, doubt is going to follow. Because whenever he tries to give you a word, the word doubt, when you look at the word doubt in the Strong's, it actually means to rend to pieces. Right? So whenever that word comes from the Most High, doubt will actually tear that word apart. Right? Which is you questioning everything that the Most High is telling you instead of just being obedient. Right? We're going to look at it. All right, Galatians 5. Let's just run it from 22. All right, we're going to cover the characteristics of this fruit. All right, it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. So it says that if you walk in the characteristics of this fruit, for such there is no law, right? There's nothing that can come against joy or peace or long suffering or gentleness. There is no correction to walking in these things. That's why it says for such there is no law, because a law is going to bring forth, a law is only there to reveal sin, right? This is why we're trying to get to a place of perfection. The law is our schoolmaster. It's our teacher. It's supposed to show you what's in you that you need to be delivered from, right? Whenever a law is revealed in you that you're not walking in obedience to, it reveals sin, right? That's what we covered in Romans 7. It reveals sin. It shows you the things that you should be walking in that you're not, right? But against the characteristics of this fruit, it says that there is no law. Right? There is no correction that's needed if you're walking in these, right? And so it says, and they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. And if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Now, I want to bring this out when it comes to this fruit of the Spirit, right? We're going to be covering meekness today. We're going to be covering one character of this fruit. But this fruit is the Ruach. Right? It is the Ruach in its totality. If you have the Ruach, you have all of these. You have every characteristic, right? I've heard some people, and I think even at one point I used to believe this a long time ago, where it was like, oh man, I got meekness, but I still need love, right? Or man, I'm walking in faith, but I still need temperance or whatever. It's like you're separating them when they are all one, right? They're all one. This is one fruit. If you got one, you have them all. But what it is that there are some that you need more of, or that you need to walk more in, and that's where the Most High, He leads you and guides you in order to get more of this character, right? And so if you have temperance, you have meekness, right? You have gentleness, you have love. It's just some of those areas need to be perfected more than others. That makes sense, all right? Perfect another fruit, absolutely. If you bite into an apple, and I always use this, or I used to use this illustration, you bite into an apple, right? You get everything that's in that apple, right? You're not biting into an apple and it's just like, oh man, that bite had, vitamin A in it or whatever, right? You're gonna get everything that's in that apple at one time. All right. So when we talk about this, the fruit of the Spirit, it's everything combined. We're just dealing with meekness today. All right. But if you're walking in meekness, you're walking in all of these some areas just need to be perfected more than others. All right. They need to be perfected, but you still have them. You're walking in them. Right. All right. So this word meekness, let me pull this up. I'm gonna pull up the definition. And we'll get it. Oh, yeah. The Strong's number is going to be H6035. H6035. All right. Hallelujah. And then we're going to get into this. So meekness, know that meekness is to be humble, right? Or meekness is to be abased, right? All right, here we go. All right, so the word, the Hebrew word is going to be anav. All right, it's going to be anav. That's H6035. All right, so we're just looking at the Hebrew definition of the word meek. All right. It's going to be a more direct illustration when we talk about the word meek, because we're going to be going back into the Old Testament. So I want y'all to see it. So the definition is to be poor, afflicted, right, humble, meek. And then when we scroll down to the Strong's Concordance, it says from anath, depressed, in mind or circumstance, needy, especially saintly, humble, lowly, meek, poor. And so the word that caught me, there's a couple words that stand out, right? First of all, the word depressed. And then, of course, it says in mind or in circumstance, needy, right? So when I was looking at this word depressed, and we're gonna see a really good example of this. What is happening? All right, I'm trying to see y'all. All right, when we look at this word, when we look at the word meek, right, and how it can be compared to depressed, is because it is to be made low, right? It is to be abased. And so for us to walk around as to walk in the spirit of meekness means that you are abased before those who even exalt themselves above the Most High, right? You have to deal with all individuals, right? No matter what they believe in, no matter what they walk in. And so even in the midst of people who are wickedness, we still have to be meek. All right. We have to deliver our words in meekness. The way that we give instruction should be out of meekness and humbleness, meaning that we're not lifted up in pride, trying to condemn anybody or trying to cut anybody deep because we just want them to get theirs. Everything that we do is so that they might receive the word and receive deliverance, right? But that comes walking in meekness sometimes could be it could be a depressing thing, right? When you think about the word depressing or to be depressed, right? It literally means something that is already pressed down to be pressed down again, right? So if you think about walking in the spirit of meekness and already being abased before this world, and then to have somebody come against you or to have somebody accuse you of being in a cult, somebody to call you wicked, somebody to blaspheme the Most High, to say our word is tampered with or whatever, like to have to deal with these things or have to deal with just this outside world, period. Sometimes it can be a depressing thing, right? Because you're already walking in the spirit of meekness, right? You're already walking, giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, right? You're already subject to him. You're already walking in obedience to him. That's what you're trying to do in your heart. And so when a person comes along and they try to beat you down even further, it could be a depressing thing, right? It could be something that if you allow it to, can actually press you down even further into a place of complete loneliness, all right? And this is where we see fear and doubt and all these things starting to come in, because to walk in meekness can be depressing if you don't lean on the Most High for strength and for restoration, right? If you allow others to abase you, if you allow others to bring you into a place of if you allow other people to press you down even further, right? And you don't allow yourself to stand firm before the Most High, in the Most High, in His Word. If you don't seek restoration through His Word, then you could become in a place of darkness where the Most High is just not the Most High, where Hasatan is just going to work, where He's just going to start sowing seeds of doubt. He's going to start sowing seeds of worry, seeds of anxiety, seeds of fear in you, right? In order to get you to walk away from the Most High. I wanted to see this because when I saw that word, I was like, man, that's interesting, right? When you think about the word depressing, and that is to be pressed down even further, to be further pressed down, to be further made low, right? And this is what the world tries to do. This is what the world tries to do to us. What the world will try to do, what the world will try to do to us is to press you down even further. But you have to stand sure on this word of the Most High and continue to walk, right? Continue to stand on this word and just bring forth the word as He gives it to you, so that people may be delivered, right? But so that you can be restored in Him. This is why we have to continue before Him. We're gonna read a story where it's a couple stories that we could bring out, but we're gonna bring out Moshe. We're gonna get to him later on, because if you understand what Moses was walking in, this is exactly what could have happened to him had he not leaned on the Most High, or had he not brought everything before Yah, right? Because dealing with people, dealing with circumstances, man, it could be a depressing thing, right? It can be a depressing thing if you don't give everything to Yah, if you don't allow Him to take control, right? If you don't allow Him to give you help in the time of your tribulation, right? It could be a depressing thing to walk in, right? But it says depressing, and then it also says what? It says in mind gentle, or in circumstances what? Needy, right? So no matter what we're going through, no matter what circumstance we face, we have to be in a place where we know we need Yah. We have to be in a place where we know we need His help. We need His aid. All right. Far too often do we put ourselves in a position or we go through things just thinking that, man, we can handle it by ourselves and that we don't need it. Especially when it comes to small things, right? And that's when you can find situations getting out of control. Let's bring this out. Psalms 25. Let's go to Psalms 25. And I'm gonna take this off the screen. All right, Psalms 25. We'll run this from verse 1. Remember, we're talking about meekness now. Now, meekness is what we should be walking in, but there's a war going on, right? There's always something trying to combat that. Always something trying to be established when the Most High is trying to get us to walk in meekness, in lowliness of heart, right? Not being prideful or puffed up, right? Fear and doubt will actually lead you to pride. People think that the opposite of being meek is pride. You're not wrong in thinking that. But what gets you to the place of pride, right? A lot of times it's just fear and doubt that gets you to the place of you trying to make up your own mind and do things on your own accord, right? It'll lead you to exalt yourself above the Most High because you're unsure and you don't seek Him for direction, for guidance. All right, let's bring this out. Psalm 25, starting at verse 1. It says, "Unto Thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust in Thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on Thee be ashamed. Let them be ashamed which transgress without cause. Show me thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. On thee do I wait all the day. Remember, O Lord, thy tender mercies and all thy loving kindness, for they have been ever of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to thy mercies, remember thou me for thy goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. I'm going to read that again. Verse 8, it says, good and upright is the Lord, therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. So it says that he will teach sinners, those who come against him, right? He will teach them in the way because he is good and upright. And so whenever we are losing our way, whenever we are walking in sin, it says that he will teach us what? The good and upright way. And then it also says for the meek, he will what? Guide in judgment. To guide you in judgment means to guide you in correction, to guide you in obedience, to guide you in what it is that you need to do to be what? In right standing with him. It says that he will guide you in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. I don't know if we caught that. It says, therefore will he teach sinners in the way, right? So he'll put you on the right path. And then for those who walk in meekness, he says he will teach you his way, right? Going all the way back to Moshe, we're going to read it. But just to understand that with Moses, what set him apart from everybody else is that he taught them precepts. He gave them laws, statutes, and commandments, the do's and the do nots. But Moses, he taught him the way of righteousness, the way to be upright and perfect in his eyes. He taught him the way of obedience. He taught him a way, he taught him how to manifest love, right? How to walk in gentleness, how to walk in all the characteristics of that fruit we just read about in Galatians 5. He taught him the way. Why? Because he had a meek heart. Because he was humble before the people. He didn't seek his own. He wasn't trying to be puffed up, right? He wasn't trying to exalt himself. And he didn't doubt in the Most High's word. He trusted in everything that the Most High was going to tell him, so the Most High could do what? He could teach him his way. Because he knew he wasn't going to walk contrary, right? And he knew that even when correction was brought, that he would repent and turn back. Go ahead, Imam.
I was going to say that's the same thing that Hamashiach did when he was walking with the disciples. His intent was to teach them his way. So he was the representation of the fruit to teach them his way, how to love, how to walk in temperance, how to walk in goodness and gentleness and be meek. So that was the thing that he did as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Right? This is what the people couldn't get coming out of Egypt. Right? They had so much fear in them, so much doubt in them. Man, we're gonna get there. But they had so much doubt in them, right? So much fear in them that they couldn't even follow the Most High's word. When the Most High tried to speak to him himself, what did they say? Man, let Moses talk to us. We don't want to hear you speak, lest we should perish. Man, can you imagine the Most High, man? He was like, y'all think I brought you all the way to Mount Sinai? Man, I did all this stuff to Pharaoh, and you think I brought you all the way here just to kill you? Right, but they had fear and they had doubt in his word, so he couldn't teach them the way. He could only teach them in the way, right? These are the things that y'all doing. This is my judgment, right? To keep them in right standing, but he couldn't teach them his way because they didn't want to receive it. Go ahead, Akoti, bring it up.
Just wanted to kind of tie this into what we talked about last week about how John and James and Peter, how their attitude was, and that Ima just mentioned that Yeshua himself did this kind of thing. And so I was thinking, part of meekness is, of course, it's obedience, being obedience to Yah. And before you can actually be meek towards anyone, you have to first be meek towards Yah, right? So that's
Right.
the base foundation. And so you have to be accepting of the instructions. But if you're not even humble, then he can't teach you. But
Right.
in verse 9, it says, the meek will he guide in judgment. So you have to put yourself in meekness before you're even before he's able to guide you. So the first step is humility, and then he'll be able to do that. And so tying it into last week when we were talking about the sons of thunder and how they were and how they were caught up in anger and all those kinds of things, as they walked with him, they were humble enough to allow him, through his teachings, through his example, to kind of change them from the inside out, change their outlook, change their way. And so that's the same attitude that we have to have. We have to come before him in humility, not asserting ourselves, not looking after our own self-interest, but subjecting ourselves so that he can then reign in us and then give us what we need to follow and walk in the word.
Right. Right. Beautiful word. Beautiful word. And that message, for anybody who didn't see it last week, what Moreh Rick brought out, man, it was an on-time word for sure. Because even when you look at Peter, especially Peter, right? Peter was at the point, man, where it was like Hamashiach was like Peter, I'm praying for you, like for real, right? Because Hasatan wants you, and when you look at Peter, man, he had such a zeal. And I don't know if Moreh Rick brought this out last week, but the one thing about Peter, James, and John, right? When you look at those three, especially, remember that they were John's disciples first. And so when Hamashiach came, right, they went from following John to following Hamashiach. And so they actually had a knowledge and an understanding of what they should be walking in before Hamashiach even came and called unto them, right? Which is why you saw those three especially, and when you look at their writings, like the understanding that they had was more than the other disciples, right, or the other apostles. And so when you look at Peter, man, Peter had to be a base, he had to be brought low when it came to him even wanting to sacrifice himself with Hamashiach. Remember, Hamashiach was telling him, he was like, Peter, you're not ready, right? You're not ready. You're going to deny me. But Peter, in his heart at the time, he was like, no, like wherever you go, I'm going to go, right? You going to Calvary, I'm going to Calvary. You going to sacrifice yourself, I'm going to sacrifice myself, right? And so he's thinking about this. He's got such a zeal, but without knowledge. And when the Most High, when Hamashiach is trying to bring him into a spirit of meekness, right? Like, hey, just chill out. Like he's trying to bring him into a place of lowliness. Man, Peter's like, nah, like I'm with it. I'm down, right? Until he actually saw the affliction and what he had to go through, and he recognized within his own heart, man, he wasn't going to do it. This is why after the rooster crowed 3 times, man, this is why he was brought to tears, because it was like, man, right? He felt like he betrayed, but Hamashiach already knew, man, it's not time yet. It's not time for you to go through this yet, right? You haven't been brought to the place yet where you can make this sacrifice yet, and it's all right, right? You were trying to what? Put more on yourself than you could bear. And so now when it came to the time for you to actually perform this thing, man, in your heart, you wasn't ready, and now you feel sorrow, right? Go ahead, Akoti.
As far as Peter's concerned, it always, when I think of that situation, it always makes me think of the scripture where he says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. But he had the heart and he had the desire to follow. But when he was tried, he wasn't ready, as you said, and he didn't have the discipline that he needed at that time to follow through in what his heart intentions were. And so, again, Abba using situations and circumstances in our life to give us a discipline, as you were talking about earlier when you were mentioning the fruits of the Spirit, which was profound because I have never thought of it that way. I used to think of it as like, oh, well, I've got this and this, but I am lacking this, this, and this. But the idea of it, yeah, but, you already have it. There's just an area where you need to strengthen yourself in. And so obviously for Peter, it was self-control.
Right.
And so Abba, not Abba, but specifically in this case, Yeshua, knew that he wasn't ready, knew that he didn't have everything yet, but he also knew that he would eventually, because of course he chose him from the very beginning and named him the Rock. So we just have to trust the process and allow ourselves to go through whatever we need to go through to get where we need to be.
That's it. That's it. Because when you don't, you make way for the enemy, right? This is what, if you look at Peter, right, just stand on that situation. When you look at Peter and what he had to endure, right? Him not believing that he wasn't ready, right? Him not having that self-control to be like, you know what? Like, Hamashiach, I understand you got to do this work and I want to go with you, but you're telling me I'm not ready. So, right, I'm gonna hold my tongue, right? But because he came forth with that zeal, because he was like, hey, I'm all the way with it, right? When the situation came where they were pointing him out, right? What did you see happen? You saw him receiving another word, right? You saw an attack on his mind. Thoughts only come from one or two places, family. It only comes from one or two places. The words that you speak out of your mouth is either going to be words of righteousness or words of unrighteousness. When you look at Peter in that situation, man, it had gotten to the point where he got so hot, man, this dude started cursing. He started acting all out of character, in order to get them to get off of his case about him being a disciple, a Hamashiach, right? Because in his heart, he wasn't ready. But Hamashiach had already said as much. He had already said as much. And so because he had put so much on him when it came time for him to have to perform and he wasn't ready, man, not only was he distraught because he heard that rooster crow and he was just like, man, I ain't going to do it. And he told me I wasn't going to do it, right? But not only that, man, he had to get out of character in order to defend himself against the people, right? All because he didn't allow, all because he tried to put more on himself than the Most High was putting on him, than Hamashiach was trying to put on, right? He was trying to carry a heavier burden than he was ready to carry. And so when we do that, when we get out of character, right, when we don't walk in what we're supposed to be walking in, right, and we try to put more on ourselves, and now we allow the enemy to come and attack us. We allow the spirits to come and now just wreak havoc on us, right? And it can get us out of character to the point, man, it's like, bro, you'll start acting a way that you ain't, people don't even recognize you to be acting like that, and you'll start acting that way. Why? Because you're in a position that you shouldn't be in. Go ahead, Iman.
Yeah, I was going to say that was that fear you're talking about, because Peter because he didn't expect what he knew that something was going to take place, but he didn't expect what did take place. And so because he thought he was so ready and was ready for a war, for a battle, that he allowed, when it did happen that way, fear immediately came in and doubt, and he began to operate according to that, cussing and, denying who he was, denying Hamashiach. He was denying it all out of his fear and his doubt of what the uncertainty of what was getting ready to happen, and the fact that he wasn't ready to walk in that uncertainty. He wasn't ready to actually lay down his life for the sheep. He wasn't ready to do that yet. And so he allowed fear to come in, and you could see it in the way that he responded to everybody. And so, even last week when Rick brought that out about Peter and how Peter was not ready, he wasn't, because where was he when Hamashiach was on the cross? John was there, but Peter was nowhere to be found. So yeah, our flesh, if it's not completely subject to the Most High, that fear and doubt that the enemy does bring, because it's not from the Most High, will creep in and cause you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. You will be out of character.
Absolutely. Right. Hamashiach was walking in meekness. He was suffering in meekness. He was literally being afflicted, right? But he was humbling himself out, knowing that, man, if he wanted to, the whole thing could have been over. This is what Peter understood. That's what Ema was bringing up. Man, Peter thought, hey, look, we gonna go, and I'm riding with you. But when you see Hamashiach going through all this, he being battered, he being cursed at, spit on, right? All of these things are coming upon him. And man, he ain't calling upon no angels. There's no help. There's no deliverance coming. Man, he just going through all this affliction, right? And so when Peter's looking at that, he just like, oh man, I didn't know it was going to be like that, right? I didn't know it wasn't going to be no help, no deliverance. It wasn't going to be no battle. We ain't got no swords, no nothing. It's just, right, we at the mercy of the people, right? Because he didn't understand what Hamashiach was trying to do for us. He didn't understand the penalty or the price that Hamashiach was going to pay for us. He didn't have a full understanding yet, right? And so he wasn't prepared to walk in meekness like Hamashiach was. Hamashiach he was man, he was steadfast. That's where we're trying to get, but he's got to bring us to that point, just like he had to bring the disciples to that point. He had to bring them to the place where they're gonna die for this thing with no questions, right? No matter what they got to go through, they're gonna go through it, right, for the kingdom. But they had to see him. They had to see him resurrected, right? They had to see that thing happen first, and then they was full steam ahead. Right? And so this is what I want us to understand, that he's taking us to a place, right? He's taking us to a furtherance. We're all leveling up, right? We every last one of us, man, some more than others, have been walking in this thing for a long time, but it don't matter how long you walk in it, you still have to rest in him, because it's still more that he needs to teach you, show you, more that you need to be delivered from, and the attacks that are coming are going to be that much stronger. That much stronger. If you're not fully persuaded in Hamashiach, man, you're gonna be done. There's no hope for you. Can you imagine the attacks that was coming after the disciples? Can you imagine the attacks after they seen Hamashiach rise, right? After the feast of Shavuot, after Pentecost. Man, when they received these gifts from on high, everything that was happening, can you imagine the attacks, the thoughts that was coming against their mind, trying to get them to exalt themselves, to be lifted up in pride? Right? These are things that they had to combat on a daily basis, but they did it through Hamashiach, because they believed him. They believed on his word. Right? We saw this with Hamashiach himself. Man, real quick, let's go to Matthew. What is it? Matthew 3. Just real quick. Or Matthew 4, I'm sorry. Matthew 4. This is why we had these writings. This is why we had the testimonies, because it shows us how we should be walking. Shows us the things that we're gonna have to deal with when we're walking, and how to combat them, right? How to war. Everything that Hamashiach did at this point. Remember, man, when he's facing off against Hasatan at this point, man, he's been fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. Right? He's at in a fleshly sense, he's at his weakest point. Right? He's at a point of weakness. He's hungry. And Hasatan even tries to play up on that. But the one thing that he tries to do is what? He tries to persuade him to bow down to him, and then he's going to give him all of the things of this world. Right? Everything that he could put his eye on, he said, these things will be yours if you just bow down to me, if you become obedient to me, if you serve me. This is what Hasatan is trying to get us to do. What? Fear him, reverence him. Right? Doubting what the reward is going to be when we are resurrected to receive the kingdom. He's trying to get you to doubt, to get outside of this kingdom mindset, to stop fighting the battle, to stop warring against him, to stop delivering other people, to stop receiving deliverance from Hamashiach. That's what Hasatan is trying to get us to do. So he sows what? Seeds. Sows seeds. Sows seeds of doubt. Sows seeds of fear. Right? He'll sow different seeds in you to get you to stop warring. To get you to wave that white flag, man. That's what he was trying to do to Hamashiach. And I want us to catch something that's important when we read this. We'll start it from verse 1. All right, it says, then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. Right? You know he's hungry. Command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Right? That's that Deuteronomy 8. It says, then the devil taketh him up into the holy city and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee. And in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then Jesus saith unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, the angels came and ministered unto him. Now, I believe it might be, it's in one of the other gospels where it says that he left him for a season. It says for a season. So although Hamashiach won that battle, it says that he left him for a season. He's going to return, right? He's going to return with the same old tricks, with the same weapons of warfare, right? But are you going to continuously walk and pursue the same path? And this is where we mess up, family. We do something once, we receive deliverance, we receive a word, man, we got a praise report, man, we got a testimony that follows behind us. But then when the trial comes again in the next season, because it's something that maybe we haven't encountered before, we think it's something that's brand new and that we got to do something different. When it's the same practice every single time, whenever we face with the adversary, whenever we're faced with opposition, we go to God. Whenever we're faced with adversity, with trials and tribulation, man, we get on hand and knee and we give it to the Most High so that what? He can war on our behalf and show us what we need to do, what? To conquer, to be delivered. Go ahead, Akoti, bring it up.
You just said something that made me think. When he came to him the first time, he came to him directly, and he was able to stave him off using the word. So it says that he left for a season. The next time he came back and he used Peter to speak a word to him, and he staved that off. So then he came back and he used Judas. So when we're able to fight, because he's cunning and sneaky, he'll keep on trying to find different ways of coming at you. So perhaps having that spirit enter somebody close to you to say a word. So we have to be very careful and cautious, because he'll keep on coming back and he'll keep on looking to see who's most influential to us and try and use those people without them knowing to try and get a foothold.
Whew. Man, you said a whole lot, Akoti. Go ahead, Ima.
Yeah, I was she was in the same place that I was actually thinking too, is that that's why we should be, once we've been delivered from a thing, or the Most High has helped us to get over something or get out of something, the first thing that we should always be doing, because we know the enemy is going to come back, is to pray that we have discernment to be able to see it when it comes, so that we don't fall back into the same trap, because he does nothing new. He just brings it in a different manner. It's a different administration this next time around, so that we can be caught off guard. But if we're constantly asking the Most High to reveal that thing to us, because he's going to come back the same time, the next season, he's coming back again. But we always have to be ready, because there is a I want to say like a place within us, or a time of year for us, where we fall into the same temptations, but we should be aware of those and be able to combat them, or be already in preparation to combat them. And that's by praying and constantly asking the Most High to not allow us to fall into those temptations again, like he told Peter and the disciples in the garden. Pray that you don't fall into temptation.
Right. Now, and this is the whole thing, man. This is why Hamashiach was never caught off guard. We know that he's Hamashiach, right? He's the king of kings. So he wasn't going to be caught slipping, but he showed us how to prepare ourselves. He was always beseeching the Most High. This is why he said, I only do the things which please my Father, right? I'm always in tune with him. I'm always praying to him. right? I'm always seeking out his word so that you're never caught off guard. The discernment, Iman hit it up. I believe you said this, right? We should already be prepared when the trial comes back around. It's coming. He's only gone for a season. Once you conquer something, it says resist the devil and he will flee, right? That's what the scriptures say, but he's coming right back. And you don't know in what form he's going to come through. You don't know if it's going to be through a loved one that's going to succumb to a spirit and then come at you to try to get you out of character, right? You don't know if it's going to be on the job, right? You don't know if it's going to be through your finances. You don't know how you're going to be affected, how you're going to be hit, but the response should be the same. And that I'm going to come to the Most High. The response should always be the same in that I'm giving it to him. When I see Hasatan, I'm not going to have any fear because I know who I'm with. Man, he saw that thing coming through Peter when he said, we're not going to let you go to the cross. What he said, man, get thee behind me, Satan. You don't even know what you're saying. Right? You allow the thought to come to you and use you in order to get me out of character. Man, it would have been, most of us would have been like, oh man, they ain't gonna let me go to the cross there for sure. And I got people fighting for me, man. We good. I ain't even got to go to the cross, man. They get it, right? He was like, no, I know why this has to be done. The fact that you're even saying this, you're coming against the Most High's word, right? That's a work of the devil. Go ahead, Akoti.
And the thing about that situation is Peter actually thought he was coming from a good place. So it's not like he was trying to subvert him. He actually thought, he was protecting him. So even when those people that the Emo talks about that he may use them, they may come at us with a good intention, not realizing that they're in opposition to what Yah wants for us. So again, that's why having discernment matters and being connected to the Spirit matters.
Yep. Right. Keeping his word, walking in his word, having a reverence, a respect, a fear of the Most High and what he's giving you. Right. Because what Hasatan is trying to do is just establish doubt. He's trying to take the Most High's word and just rend it to pieces. Right. He's trying to scramble it up so that you can't discern what it is that you should be doing. And then he could bring in another word. Right. That's all he's trying to do. All he's trying to do is give you a new word so that you can walk in that old nature, that old man. And so the more you draw away from Yah, the more you don't seek him on a daily basis, the better the opportunity is. When he comes to you, man, if you ain't been in your word, you ain't been praying, you ain't been meditating for the last 30 days, man, it's light work. Right? Because you can't discern what word you should be walking in. You ain't saw them. You ain't spent no time with him. Right? He hasn't been able to restore you. He hasn't been able to edify you. And so when Hasatan come with a word, man, you'll believe that thing. It'll sound so sweet to you. Just like Akoti said, man, Peter didn't say anything that you would look at and think that was off. Man, he just said, we're not going to let you die. We don't want to see you die, man. You're doing all these good works. We know who you are. We know that you're Christ. Right? We know this, so we're not going to let you die. But he was like, man, you coming against the word of the Most High. Right? And that's only the work of Hasatan. That's all the enemy's trying to do. That's the tactic. It's to get you to put your defenses down, to get you to put that sword down. Right? So that way he can use you to do his work, to build up his kingdom. Get out. Who got something? Elder Michael.
Shalom, King. Bye, shalom. As I was listening to you all, I was just thinking, I'm talking to my friend a number of times, and they're saying, well, Yah's like leading me, Yah is guiding me, and then I look at the results of that supposed leading and guiding, and I question. And so then I tell him, I said, well, okay, you're saying that God's leading you, but look how this resulted. So my question is it possible? And I don't want to just say to them that I don't think that Yah's talking to you. I'll just ask them the question. I'll say, well, do you think that Yah that was Yah? And they'll usually say yes. And so you got a lot of people that's like that. They think that because this voice came to them or whatever, that is Yah, and they seem to understand that okay, there could be another voice, and you are maybe I don't know, not discerning, as you said, not discerning that's Yah. And see, my point is this, and this is what I usually tell people. I said I usually filter everything through the word.
Mm-hmm.
So then, if whatever I'm told by a voice or whatever, or something that comes to me, because sometimes I question, I say, well, was that you? And I even question myself. Sometimes I say, is that me? Or is that the spirit?
Right.
And a lot of people don't do it. They think because they heard this voice that was so, I guess, influential, so they just felt that, okay, it has to be God.
Right.
But then you got to look at the word. You got to filter that through the word, and then sometimes things that are spoken may not be exactly according to the word. You may not be able to filter, but then the spirit, the scripture tells us that our spirit will bear witness with that spirit, and we'll know the truth. We'll know the word. But see, sometimes there's some things you can't really filter the word because it's not plainly brought out in the word, and so therefore we need the guidance of the spirit to direct us in the things. So let me shut up and let you. I just wanted to share that.
Yes, sir. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And it does happen. It does happen often. And what I see most of the time, because anybody who would try the spirit by the spirit, a person that's in their word, based on what they're doing, right? The Most High is only going to lead you to do good works. So sometimes you'll see people doing things a little off, and you know that it's just it could be a spirit that they're under based on whatever religion or whatever they walked in and been taught. It's some people who don't even read their Bible at all, and they still think the Most High is speaking to them every time they hear a voice, right? But we know that Hasatan, it says that him and his followers, it says that they can transform themselves into a form of light in order to give you a word. And when they do give you a word, it can be they can mingle scripture in with it to get you off the path. And this is why everything does have to be filtered through Torah. It does have to be filtered through this word. But as you read this word, when the Most High give you direction, you're going to know it's him, because it's not going to lead you to go contrary to what he's written, to go contrary to his character. He's not going to have you do anything that's going to throw dirt on his name, right? Or to lower his name. And so a lot of people, man, when they walk in that type of spirit, we have to be on the topic, right? We have to be meek. And we're gonna bring out a scripture that actually that says as much. Go ahead, Koti.
What Mikael was saying makes me think. I've got a friend, and when I talk to her, she'll be like, "I was praying and I asked God, and He told me." And I was like, every time you pray and you ask something, you always get an answer. Do you find that a little strange? Because I don't always get an answer as soon as I ask for something. Many times I don't hear anything for a while. Like,
Right.
He makes me sit in a place and He reveals it when He reveals it. But He don't reveal everything when I ask. And sometimes the answer to things I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, there are three voices we can hear. We can hear the voice of Yah, we can hear the voice of Hasatan, or we can hear the voice of our flesh. And so, as you were saying, once we hear a voice, we need to then use the discernment that we've prayed for, go to the word and make sure that thing matches up with his word, because we don't know which voice we're hearing at any time until we do that thing of matching it back to the word. And many times waiting for that second confirmation, right? Because at the voice of two or three, a thing is confirmed. So the first time you hear something, you can't go with it until you hear it again.
Right.
And it matches up with the word. So it's like we have a guideline for finding out whether what we're hearing is coming from Yah or whether it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from us or from a nefarious source.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to be very careful when dealing with people. If every time they pray for something, immediately Yah answers them, like, that's not the way he works. Even in the scriptures, there were many times people went to him and they heard nothing, and
Mm-hmm.
then a prophet would come and give them the answer. So he's not always just answering us every time we pray directly into our head.
Right. Right. And a lot of times what you hearing back is what you've already told yourself. It's already in you. It's pretty much your desire, right? You praying, and then the response that you get back is what you want to do anyway. But yeah, we do have to wait on the Most High, and you should pray for that confirmation, right? You always want His word to come forth, and then you want it to be proven true, so that you have those witnesses. And the word definitely is a witness, right? Anytime we can line it up with his word, with his scriptures, that's a witness. And then praying for confirmation any other way, whether it be by Moreh, whether it be by Nakoti, anything. He can confirm his word and let you know you're on the right path. And so those are steps that we definitely got to take. But like I said, a lot of times it's just based on a learned behavior that people do this, right? We just pray and then we just go and do what we want to do anyway, right? Without giving way for the Most High to respond. Go ahead, Nakoti.
Wasn't it Gideon who heard a word and he was like, look, I need to make sure it's you. How about we do thing and you make this carpet wet and everything else be dry? And then once he got that, he was like, okay, that's pretty convincing, but let's let the carpet be dry and everything else be wet.
Right.
And then I got my confirmation.
Yep. And then he was like, all right, let's rock. Let's go do it. And the Most High is not, this is the thing. This is what we talk about when we talk about prayer, asking for confirmation. Man, the Most High is he's so patient with us. He knows what's in us, right? As long as you have a desire to follow him, man, he doesn't mind you asking to confirm a word that he's giving you, right? The disobedient thing, is to not come to him for guidance, to not come to him for instruction, and not come to him for the confirmation, even though you're doubting in the word, right? This is what he does. He clears up all doubt. Right, he clears up all doubt. He confirms everything so that there's no misunderstanding of what he wants you to do. And this is the thing that we have to start walking in more. We just don't, as people have been awakened to this truth. And I was just talking to Big Ak about this 2 days ago. Man, he was bringing something out to me that was powerful. Because you have people who are they're awakened to being Israel, and then you got people who are awakened to truth, and there's a difference, right? It's a difference in the heart of the person, right? You got people who are they're seeking knowledge. They're seeking knowledge to further confirm that they are the chosen people, or that we are the chosen people, so that they can exalt themselves, right? But then you got another people who are literally, man, when they wake up, they just want to know, they just want to know his love. They want him to be revealed to them. They want him to teach them, to give them the fruit of the spirit, right? They just want to get to know him and build a relationship with him. And with that, all those other things, they come, right? But this has to be your desire. This has to be the desire within you to get to know him on that personal level, right? To get to know his word. Let him teach you his ways, right? So that you can walk in everything with full obedience. And you can trust in his word. Asking for confirmation, man, that's what builds that trust. It's knowing his word. It's knowing what it sounds like, knowing how he walks. Right? My sheep know my voice. Hallelujah. But you got a lot of people who they have a learned behavior just to pray, but not actually wait to hear his voice, not wait for a response. They pray, and then it gives them the satisfaction to go and do what they want to do, right? But for those individuals, for anybody who's walking in that mindset ignorantly, right? That's why the Most High has people in place to show them the way, right? To be a testimony for them, right? To ask the questions like Elder Mikael and like Coach Monica, to ask those type of questions, not to condemn them, not to come against them, but just to have them think, right? So that the Most High might be able to sow a seed in them. Let's confirm that, right? How we should bring words out in these situations. Everything should be done through meekness, right? We do things through meekness. We do things in the spirit of humbleness because it allows the Most High to work, right? Anytime we come in the spirit of meekness, man, we're out of the equation. Too many people trying to feel important, man. They try to put themselves into the mix when you shouldn't be in the equation. It should be all for the Most High's glory. Everything that we say, everything that we minister, right? It shouldn't be for our own gain. It should be for the gain of the kingdom, for that person to receive deliverance, right? That's the only thing that we should be glorying in. Let's go to 2 Timothy real quick. 2 Timothy, and we'll run it from verse. We'll run it from verse 24. Second Timothy 24. Bring this out.
2 Timothy, what chapter and verse?
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 24. All the twos got me mixed up. I'm sorry. I thought I had already said the chapter, but I said 2 Timothy. So 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 24. Hallelujah. He really is trying to bring us. Man, he really is trying to bring us. He really is our covering and our protector, as long as we desire him to be so. Man, that's what's so powerful about this. But he called us unto himself, right? Us as sinners, man. He taught us the right way, and now he's teaching us his way, how to walk according to his voice, how to know how to. He's teaching us his voice, right? He's giving us his spirit, so that everything that we do, we can do it according to the fruit of the spirit, in order to bring him glory. And through that, man, he's our covering and our protector. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. Is nothing that can come against us, right? And when I say us, I mean that inner man. This flesh is going to die anyway. Who cares what man is going to do to it? And we're going to read that later on too. Man, don't fear anybody who's trying to come against this flesh, man. It's that inner man that's going to be resurrected. That's going to be given a new body. That's going to be put in the kingdom. That's going to see the Father as he is. That's what we should be desiring. That's what our focus should be. Nobody care about this flesh. It's going to die anyway. All right, 2 Timothy 2, chapter 2, verse 24. It says, "And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient. In meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves. If God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth, and that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will." And so when you see somebody that is walking contrary to the word, you have to understand that they are ensnared. A lot of times, man, people who are walking contrary, they don't even know what spirit they're walking in, or that a spirit has attached itself to them, right? And it can be multiple spirits that you're dealing with. So when you talk to a person, if you're speaking to them in lowliness of heart, if you're speaking to them in the spirit of meekness, right? You're speaking to them with words that can be received. It doesn't mean that that individual is going to receive it, but you leave the way for the Most High to sow seeds in them. You leave the way for that seed to be watered and for them to receive an increase so that they can repent and give all glory, honor, and praise to the Most High. That's what we always should be seeking, right? Whenever we minister to anybody, it should always be for the purpose that they would get an understanding of who the Most High is and repent. It should never be to demean them. It should never be to bring them to condemn them, right? To make them feel bad, to check them, whatever. It should never be under that spirit. That's not the spirit of the Most High, right? That's the spirit of vanity, so that you can get gain, so that you can be right, so that you can feel good about yourself, right? So that you can exalt yourself. But it's a spirit that doesn't profit anything. When you bring it with the spirit of meekness, man, it's so that it could be easily received, right? And so this is how we should always bring the word. This is how we should always minister the word, so that the Most High can work. Anybody got anything to add before we keep this thing rolling? We're going to Exodus. We're going to Exodus 14. Exodus 14. He really do love us. Really do. He's trying to bring us into a place where we just depend on him. He wants us to be captive to him. We talked about this before, man. We look at that word, to be captive, or that word captivity. Man, you're gonna be captive to something. You're gonna be bound or yoked to something. Right? It's either gonna be the Hamashiach, or you're gonna be bound and yoked to Hasatan. But either way, something is gonna lead you down a path. Right? Either way, you're gonna be led down a path. It's either gonna be a path of destruction or a path of righteousness. So he wants us to be captive to him. He wants to be the one that is in control of this vessel, right? He can cast out wicked imaginations, those thoughts, things that are trying to bring us into condemnation. Man, he can deal with those things as long as we give ourselves to him, right? Offer ourselves to him daily, in everything that we do, right? He should have complete control over every aspect of our lives. But how many of us can say that we actually give him that authority, right? And the authority does have to be given to him, because he's not going to, we just read it, right? He's not going to strive with us. That's one thing Hamashiach is not going to do. That's one thing that the Most High is not going to do, is strive back and forth with us. Either you're gonna follow him or you're not. Right? Either you're gonna let him lead you or you're not. Right? Either you're gonna receive his spirit and do right, or you're not. Man, y'all hold your hand right there. Let's go to Revelations. Hold your hand there though. We coming right back. I just want to cover something real quick. Let's go to Revelations. Let's go to Revelations 22. Right? He's not going to strive back and forth. This is why we have to choose this day who we're going to serve, who we're going to follow, because he's only going to, there's only so much grace and mercy that's going to be afforded to each and every last one of us. We don't know the amount, we don't know the abundance of it. But man, when you make up in your own heart that you no longer want to receive his word or follow him, he will turn you over into whatever your desire is. We've seen it happen time and time again. Saul's a perfect example, right? But he will turn you over to whatever your desire is. He did it to the northern tribes, right? Y'all desire to be Gentiles, man, go ahead and be Gentiles. This is why we have to choose his word. We have to follow him. Allow him to yoke us. Allow him to draw us so that he can perfect us. We'll start at verse 7. Revelations 22, verse 7. It says, "Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. And I saw John, and I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. Then he said unto me, See thou do it not, for I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of this book. Worship God." Man, look at the angel. Even the angel was just like, man, don't bow down to me, right? Don't bow down to me. Don't give me reverence. What? Reverence God. Worship him. He's like, I'm not fellow servant. I'm not brethren, and the brother of those who keep the sayings of this book. Anyone walking in righteousness. This is why, man, we don't even understand that we have protection of the angels. The Malachim protect us. They watch over us as long as we walk in righteousness. Right? You can actually pray to be covered, to be protected as you walk through the day. Now we're going somewhere else with that. All right, verse 10. It says, "And he said unto me, Seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust," watch this, "he that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last." I'll keep reading just a little bit. "Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie." Right? So he says, I am coming with a reward. What? To give every man according to his work. Every man. We covered this like a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's getting a reward. Everybody's going to get something. Right? You're either going to receive everlasting shame, right? Or you're going to receive everlasting life. Everybody's getting a new body. Everybody's going to be resurrected, and everybody's going to be judged and receive something, right? But it says those who are given rights to the kingdom, it says that they come into a place, what? Without dogs. Anybody who doesn't understand that byword, right? A dog is a brute beast. It's a person that just lives or walks after the flesh. They do only the things that fulfill their fleshly desires, right? That's what a dog does, right? A dog doesn't seek to be righteous. A dog just wants to eat, sleep, and crap. That's it, right? And have sex. And so it says that this is a place without dogs, without a brute beast, without sorcerers, whoremongers, murderers, idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie, right? So it's a kingdom that's free from all of those things that we're now trying to be delivered from. Because there are some of these things that at a point in time that we walked in, right? And so we have to seek deliverance, especially when we talk about not fulfilling our fleshly desires. That's something that is afflicting a lot of us, right? And it's keeping us from walking in the spirit. It's keeping us from following the Most High's word. It's because we seek to fulfill our desires, right? And to do the things that bring us joy on a fleshly level instead of seeking the Most High and his joy. All right, but the whole reason why I brought that scripture out is because at this point in time, for those who are going to be unjust, it says be unjust still, right? For those who are going to be filthy still. For those who are going to be holy still. You have to make up your mind this day, right? You have to choose what path you're going to walk this day, right? Whatever you choose, man, go ahead and do it. That's what the word is saying, man. You want to be unjust, man, be unjust. Go ahead and walk in. But just know I'm coming, right? Know my judgment is coming. All right, back to Exodus 14. We're going to read how this fear and doubt can creep in. How this fear and doubt can creep in. Fear and doubt can creep in. It can cause us not to submit to the Most High, not to humble out to Him. It can creep in when we don't understand the situation or what's going on, but it can also creep in when it's a unfamiliar situation to us, right? When we look at the children of Israel, when we read this chapter, right, we're gonna be in Exodus 14. We're gonna start at verse 1. I want y'all to understand that up until this point, man, they have been delivered. They have been delivered, and the Most High has abased their enemies, right? He's brought Pharaoh down to a low point, to the point where he was like, man, y'all just go. I'm gonna let y'all go, all right? Now, when the Most High brings them out and He frees them, I want us to understand this. He's freeing them from oppression, right? Which means He's freeing them from being afflicted. He has delivered them from their captor that had them bound and that was afflicting them with bondage, right? And hard rigor. So they've been delivered from that, and they rejoiced for a moment until they reached another place of tribulation. And when they reached this place of tribulation, the Most High brought him there. He brought them here on purpose to show them, right? To show them that He's got them covered, to show them that He's going to protect them. But the whole thing is that not only do they allow fear and doubt to creep in this moment, but when the Most High shows them who He is and how He has them covered, man, they still murmur and complain. They still go against His word, walk contrary to Him, right? They still walk in disobedience to Him. And this is why He couldn't teach them His ways. This is why he couldn't give them His word, right? Because in their hearts, they didn't want to receive it, even though He showed them, man, I got you covered and I'm your deliverer. I'm your protector. He brought them this way on purpose. We're going to read it. Go ahead, Elder. What you got?
You know, sometimes when I go over that, how they were, it's really fantastic how they could see those miracles. Because a lot of times I'll go to Hebrews, the 4th chapter, where it talks about them and how they were rebellious. They didn't believe after seeing all the miracles and wonders that He did. But, you know, I was just thinking as you were reading that those people, because I thought about myself. And one time I had on a telecom, I had told the story about my upbringing and how I was brought up in a rooming house. My aunt and uncle owned a rooming house, and we had roomers, and there was a whole lot of evil, and the old folk used to use the term called devilment. And there was a whole lot of devilment going on in that home, you know. And so consequently, I, as a child, was exposed to a lot of evil spirits. There was one woman in there, they called her a root worker, and they said she, you know, everybody was scared of her, old woman. And you had other people, you know, doing different things. There was one guy in there, he was a freak, you know, punch holes in the bathroom where he could peek through and see people go to the bathroom. But anyway, there was all kind of stuff going on in that house. And so I was thinking, as you were reading, those people, they were under Egypt, and Egypt was worshiping devils and demons, according to what Paul told the Corinthians and stuff. And so while they were worshiping, while the Egyptians was worshiping those demons and stuff, well, the children of Israel started catching on to that wave, and they started doing it too. And that's why they didn't even know who He was. Right. They didn't even know His name. They didn't know, they had done this, but forgot everything. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking, they allowed themselves to come under the jurisdiction of those spirits. And it was, I mean, how many demons was it? And so this is what the Most High had to deal with through Moshe, all, you know, trying to get them to, okay, as we read over there in the other text, being held captive. He was trying to help them to break away from that captivity. You know, and they had that song about break every chain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did not do. That's why they ended up dying in the wilderness. But so with that, you know, that's all I wanted to say. Just had that.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Beautiful. That's yeah. Man, you right on the mark, Elder. That is a beautiful bring out. That's exactly what happened, right? That's what happens to us today, or what can happen if we don't seek the Most High. From the time that He brings them out of Egypt, remember, it's not that they started to learn these things and do them. It's that these things were already sown in them, and He was trying to pluck it out of them. He was trying to deliver them. Right. So when he brings them through and he's showing them all these things, he's trying to show them that I should be preferred over these things. You should fear me, the one who is bringing judgment on the ones who are worshiping these idols, right? Who are involved in this sorcery, who are worshiping these so-called gods and things like that. I should be preferred over that because I'm mightier than that. And He was trying to deliver them from the word that had been sown, but they didn't want to receive it. They didn't want to walk in it. They had more fear. They had more fear of the things that He had delivered them from, right, than Him. They had more fear of the sorcery and the enemies and things like that. They delighted after those things more. They showed it more reverence, right? They esteemed it higher than the Most High. They preferred it over Him, and that's the crazy thing. And so when He tried to bring them a word, when He tried to bring them something that could establish them, they didn't receive it, right? And at all times, walking through the wilderness, all the way up until they got to Jericho, they doubted His word. They could never receive it, right? They always doubted it. Why? Because they had another word in them that they preferred over Him. Go ahead, Imam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's why when we come to Hamashiach, when we come to God now, that's what He does. He begins the stripping process to strip you of all of those things of the world that were already in you, because then you won't prefer Him more than you prefer the world. You'll continue to have that battle, that war that goes on. Well, we have it anyway, but we won't choose to walk away from the things of the flesh if He doesn't do the inner work to start to draw us out of those things, to purge those things out of us that the world once had in us. And so so that we can prefer Him and walk in Him and walk in the newness of life, because that's what it is. It's a new life. So you have to get rid of the old life in order to walk in the newness of life. And we won't walk in it if we continue to hold on to the past, even the leeks and the onions that we once had. He's trying to change your whole taste, which is why He gave them manna in the wilderness. Let's change what you even used to eating so that you can eat, according to what I have for you. You can be full off of what I'm giving you and not what you once had in the past.
Right. Man, Uncle Willie, I think I saw you light up too. Did you have something?
Yeah, this is so great and so good, but it's like, this is what we live in every day. What I'm living is like you're talking about my life, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's like God said, everybody ought to say everything that I want to say anyway, but He says, trust in the Lord with all their heart, all their mind. And I like, you got to trust in Him, because that's the whole process of coming to Him and following Him. It's about just trusting Him. But I want to ask you this question here: why did some people, come out of it and receive God, and some of them didn't receive God, like the Israelites, like the ones in the desert?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So when it comes down to the heart of man. Like when you look at the ones who receive truth and the ones who receive the Most High, is because in their heart, man, they desired Him. They had a fear and a love for Him, right? When the Most High shows you Himself, man, it's only a few people. This is why it's only a remnant, because it's only a few people who can understand that when He shows you Himself, that in itself is a miracle, right? Man, when you look at Moses and everything that he went through, man, this dude left paradise twice in order to follow and be obedient to the Most High, because he loved the Most High. It wasn't about what he had to go through. It wasn't about the journey of the people that he had to deal with, man. It was about being obedient to Yah. And because of that, man, he walked with a humble spirit the whole time, because he understood, man, I'm doing what is pleasing to Abba, the one who was giving me life, the one who has allowed me to still live to be able to do these things, right? To show forth these miracles. I'm a vessel to be used by him. People who can grasp onto that, those are the ones who truly receive it and who can walk after it. But it's only a few that's gonna get it, because a lot of people, man, they see these things happen and then they soon forget. They soon forget. I mean, it takes me back, like it really does. It shocks me sometimes just how people can forget what the Most High has brought them out of, and then return to something else that is wicked. I mean, it blows my mind every single time. It blows my mind, because for him to give you understanding of his word, when you read a word and you see it in a way that you've never seen it before, and you know that that's only because he's resting in you, he's dwelling in you. To give that up, man, whew. I mean, I don't understand it, but it's only few who can grab hold of it, right? And you have to have a heart to receive it. You have to have a heart to receive it. If you got a stony heart, man, some people are going to receive a word in a moment. They'll be enlightened for a moment, and then as soon as they walk away, man, they back to doing what they did before. You know, the word says it's like a man who beholds himself in a glass, right? You see what manner of man you are. Whenever the word is before you, you see, man, I need to repent. I see the wrongdoing that I've done. But as soon as you walk away, man, you forget about all of it, and you just start doing the same old thing again. This is the cycle of madness that we have to get out of, and the only way to do that is to continuously pursue Yah. That's the only way to get out of that cycle, or else it's just gonna repeat itself. Right? You're gonna repent, do wrong, repent, do wrong, repent, do wrong, and you're gonna find yourself offering up repentance for the same thing over and over. So what does that mean? It ain't true repentance, because you haven't turned from anything. Right? And so now you're mentally you're back under the order of Aaron with just bringing vain sacrifices that can't actually purge your conscience, because you don't desire the Most High to actually deliver you and heal you. But that's a good bring out, Uncle Willie. They were pulled out of a physical captivity, but spiritually they were still oppressed in their mind, right? They were still oppressed. So even though they were delivered from a captivity, even though they didn't have to fight a physical battle, they were still what? At war with no guidance, with no protection. And so they ended up becoming an enemy to the Most High. Because in their heart and mind, they were still being oppressed. In their heart and mind, they were still afflicted. Right? And not only were they being afflicted, but they rejoiced in it. They preferred it, right, over the Most High. Man, if you understand the cycle of everything that he did, man, he brought them out as newborn babies. This is why they had the everything had to be taken away from them. They had to be drawn away from everything. Right? He fed them with manna, and he tried to like Iman said, man, he was trying to change their appetite. He was trying to change their thought and change their desire. Right? Every day when you wake up, just know you're gonna get fed. Know your family's gonna get fed. Know that I'm gonna satisfy that hunger. But with everything else that you need, you should be looking at me. You shouldn't be desiring things that you received when you were in bondage. All right. He was trying to train up their mind so that when they got to the kingdom, that they wouldn't wax fat and forget about him, forget about following his commandments. That's exactly what they did, right? They got everything that they could desire in the flesh, and then they just stopped following. They started seeking their own way. Anybody had anything else to bring out before we run this? We got a couple more left, and we're gonna land this plane. All right. Hallelujah. Let's read one thing first before we read that 14. Let's go back one chapter. I just want to read 13. Chapter 13, verse 17 and 18. Just so we get this understanding that everything that the Most High did It was purpose, right? Because he knew it wasn't time for them to go and actually fight a physical war. So he took them another way. And while he's taking them another way, the whole plan is to still fight this battle for them, to get them in a shape, right? He's trying to train them up. He's trying to train them up. He's trying to build together a nation before they even go to fight any war. Because once they fight a battle, once they actually do go to this physical war, he wants them to understand that you have to lean on me in order to even win those battles. Everything that they did was spiritual first, right? Even them conquering when they fought physically, man, it was a spiritual battle. That's why with Moses, when his arms up, they can win. But then when his arms go down, they start losing. Why? Because this is spiritual. This thing ain't physical. All right, let's keep it going. 13, 17, and 18. It says, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they turn to Egypt. But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. So they went harnessed, prepared to go to battle, but he knew they weren't ready yet. Right? So he took them another way because he said that they were going to be fearful. They were going to be afraid. And even though at this point, if they trusted in him, they could have conquered the Philistines. Right? But he knew they weren't ready yet. He knew they didn't have that trust yet. All right, let's jump over to 14 and 1. And I want y'all to see how when this fear and this doubt creep in, how your mind is automatically going to try to go back to what is comfortable, or it's going to want to go back to what is comfortable, even if that's affliction of bondage, even if it's captivity. You'll want to go back to that place because you don't have trust in the Most High's word, right? Because you don't want to submit yourselves to him and let him take control. All right, 14 and 1. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Fahath Harath, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-Zephon. Before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say unto the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land. They are entangled in the land. The wilderness have shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them, and I will be honored, upon Pharaoh and upon all the hosts, the Egyptians, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh of his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chariots and all of the chariots of Egypt and the captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out in high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and the horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea beside Pihath Harath before Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. Right? Now it says that they were afraid and that they cried out, but they're not crying out with a heart of protection, right? They're crying out with a heart of contempt, right? With a heart of doubt, because they know what the Most High said, that he was going to bring them out and deliver them. And now they've been delivered, but now that they're faced with an opposition, right? Now that they're faced, there's a war on the forefront. Now they're doubting the Most High's word. They're doubting what they've already seen themselves, which is their enemies being afflicted, which is them being delivered. Right? They've already seen judgment come upon Pharaoh, but now they're in a place where they can't flee, and they see an army coming against them, and now they're doubting because they're afraid. Right? Now, mind you, when we read that chapter 13, what did we notice? What did it say that they came out with? It says that he led them to the Red Sea harness. So all the men who can fight and do battle are strapped for war. But what? They don't think they can win. They don't believe that they can win. And the reason why they don't believe that they can win, the reason why they're afraid and why they're doubting in the Most High is because they haven't fully submitted themselves to him in their heart. They haven't abased themselves. They're still thinking that the war that's coming, they got to do something. They're thinking they're going to perish, right? They've been brought out here to die. That the Most High ain't fighting for them, regardless of everything that's been shown to them, right? And that's how we can get. There's situations, there's trials, there's tribulations, there's tests that the Most High is going to put us through. Man, there's going to be nowhere to flee. You just got to deal with it head up. But you got to understand that it's the Most High fighting the battle. All you doing is following the course. All you're doing is walking in obedience. But the only way you can do it with full obedience is to fully submit. It's to humble out. Right? At this point, they couldn't do it. It says that they cried out, right? The children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. 11, it says, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt? So hold up. So they had already said something in Egypt, right? They had already told him in Egypt, man, hey, just leave us here. Just leave us in bondage. Right? But when the deliverance came, they still left. Right? When the angel had passed and Pharaoh said, man, y'all can go, what? They went because they thought, all right, it's smooth sailing from here. They didn't think that they were going to have to face any opposition. But as soon as the opposition came, what did their mind go back to? It went back to bondage. It went back to oppression. Because they didn't have any trust or belief in the Most High. So they says, is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. They didn't understand. Even after this, they didn't get it. He just gave them a precept that should have followed them all the way to Jericho. He told them what? Stand still and see the salvation. The Lord is fighting for you. The enemy that's coming to oppose you, you'll see them no more because the Lord is fighting for you. He's fighting the battle. Even though y'all harnessed up for war, even though you can physically fight, man, he's fighting this thing on a different level. He's trying to destroy your enemy that's in front of you, and he's trying to renew your mind at the same time. All you got to do is what? Stand still, see the salvation. Don't fear your enemies, fear him. Give him reverence. Submit yourself to him. Humble out before him. Abase yourself. Right? Said the Lord is fighting for you. They didn't get it. They didn't want to receive it. Right? They did not want to receive it. And so when they reached a new opposition, what? They murmured and complained. When there was another war they had to fight, they murmured and complained. Right? When they desired the garlic and the leeks and all that stuff, they complained. They didn't understand that the Most High was trying to renew them. He was trying to free them. But their mind just kept going back into captivity because they didn't desire him in their heart. Right? They had more respect and honor unto the Egyptians and the other nations around them than they did for the Most High, the one who delivered them. I mean, they had rather die in captivity in bondage than as free men and women. They preferred even that. Right? can't be us, Zion. That can't be us. Not today. Not today. There's no room for that type of mindset, right? There's no room for it because the enemy's on the prowl. You see wickedness just ramping up around us. There's no room for that doubt. There's no room for fear of what this world can do, right? There's no room for it. You have to trust and believe in the Most High. The only way you're going to do that is by humbling out and seeking Him, right? Because that war is coming against you. It's going to try to get you in a place of fear and doubt, because when fear and doubt comes, pride is going to come. When fear and doubt comes, you're going to exalt yourself. Why? Because you're going to try to when fear and doubt of the word comes, you're going to try to figure it out yourself, right? You're going to try to find a solution. You're going to go outside of His word and try to make something happen and try to fix a situation, right? Hallelujah. Let's go to Matthew 10. Let's go to Matthew 10. We winding down. When the Ruach's not in you, when the Spirit is not in you, when those evil spirits come back, they coming back to dwell, right? They coming back. So if a Mashiach is not in you, if He's not the one protecting you, man, you're going to be given over to all these things. You're going to be given over to all these things. And it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to fall victim to them, no matter what it is. You gotta give Him authority, give Him control, and know He's in control at all times. Hallelujah. Like I said, Matthew 10. We already covered this, but I want us to read it. Where I want to start at. We'll start at verse 24. And let me just say this. When you read this scripture, just understand whatever the king went through, man, we are going to have to go through. Whatever he had to endure, we got to endure. Right? This is why it's important to walk according to the fruit of the Spirit. Because whatever you have to go through, whatever he went through, you got to go through it. In order to overcome those things, you have to have these characteristics. In order to cast out fear and doubt, man, you have to submit yourself. You have to allow him to abase you, to press you, and to build you back up. You have to allow that to happen, right? In order to be established in him, in order to be obedient to him. Because the king had to go through it. He went through all these things, and we got to go through it too. He was tried, we got to be tried, right? He was afflicted, we got to be afflicted. These things we got to go through. The king went through it, and this says as much. All right, Matthew 10, starting at verse 24. It says, "The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light. And what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." 29, it says, "Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows." We are valuable to him, right? We are precious to him. Those who desire him, right? Those who want to get to know him, who are building that relationship with him. Man, he says you are of more value than these sparrows, right? He says the very hairs of your head are numbered. That's how mindful he is of you. And you think he's not going to protect you, cover you? You think he's not going to deliver you when it's time? You think he's going to leave you empty-handed? Right? You think he's gonna just leave you to be destroyed and be depressed by the enemy? No, he's not. He's gonna cover you. He's gonna give you what you need when you need it. He's gonna give you everything that you need when you need it. He's gonna give you the understanding and the wisdom that you need when you need it. He's gonna tell you what to say when it's time for you to minister. All you gotta do is just stand on his word. Right? That's it. He says, don't fear the ones who can hurt the body. Fear the one who has the authority and the power to not only kill the body, but then cast that body into hell. That's the one you should fear. That's the one you should reverence. Right? That's the one you should humble yourself out to. Not to this world, y'all. Whenever you give yourself over to the flesh, to fleshly desires, you're submitting yourself to it. Right? You're submitting yourself. That's why when we talk about meekness, meekness is not just something that you show forth to others. Man, you first, and I think Coach Mitchell Lee brought this out way earlier. Man, everything that we walk in, we first walk in it for the Most High. It's first shown to him. Man, meekness has to be shown to the Most High first before you can display it to others, before it shines through you to other people. Moses had to be meek before the Most High first. Man, he had to show himself to be obedient and submissive to him first, so that he could have the strength to submit himself to the people. I mean, have y'all read Exodus through Deuteronomy? I mean, my goodness, who could do it? Who can do it without the Most High? Submit yourself to those, trying to be meek to that group of people. Even today, man, Israel a trip. I'm telling you. Man, I got a quick testimony too, man. I think I told this story before to a couple of y'all. Man, back when we was at the GA, we was at this the old church that I used to go to. Man, we used to every month, like once a month, man, we used to go out and hand out sandwiches to the people, right, around the city, right. We was down in Tampa, so we used to primarily just hand out sandwiches to the homeless. But anybody who wanted some food, man, they could come get it. We had food, water, and then during like the rainy season, we'll have like ponchos, stuff like that, man, just to take care of the people, man. And we would go out there, not only hand out food, but we would pray for them, pray over them, cover them, things like that. Right? It was one day, and I'm telling you, man, this is like a microcosm. I think that's the word of what Moses had to deal with. But it just it shed some light on what he had to go through. All right, let me just say that. But man, one day we handed out sandwiches, and we drove past this homeless brother, and he was in a wheelchair. So the brother couldn't wheel himself over fast enough to get a sandwich because we was going a little further down the road. And so he said, man, hey, can y'all bring me a sandwich and some water? So I said, hey, I got you, right? So we pull up in this parking lot. Man, we got a bunch of like homeless people coming up to us, man. Yeah, Ema already knows it was good. We got a bunch of homeless people coming up to us. Man, we handing out sandwiches. So a brother roll up in this truck, right? Him and he got his girl in the passenger side. He roll up in the truck, right? Now, I got one sandwich left. That's all I got in my hand. So we all had our little stockpile or whatever, and I had already handed out all the sandwiches in my hand. I got one sandwich, one water in my hand, right? Or no, I got two in my hand. I'm sorry, I got two sandwiches in my hand. So then the brother said, hey, he was like, can I get a sandwich? So I'm like, hey, I got you, bro. I hand him the sandwich. And then he said, can I get another one for my girl over here? And I said, hey, I promised that I was gonna give this sandwich to a brother that's down the way. I was like, but talk to my brother over here because he had a handful of them. So I'm like, talk to my brother over here, man. He'll get you a sandwich. And then I just took off, running down the thing, trying to catch the brother in a wheelchair, right? So I go down the way, man. I hand the brother the sandwich and the water, whatever. I come back, my brother Tyree, man. He was like, hey, man. He was like, the brother just he threw your sandwich on the ground, right? So I was like, dang, he threw my sandwich on the ground, right? So I'm blowed. I don't know what just happened, right? Tyree told me he threw the sandwich on the ground. I go up to the brother, he in his car. I said, brother, why you threw the sandwich on the ground? He was like, man, I asked you for another sandwich. He said, when I asked you for the other sandwich, man, you ain't give it to me. I was like, brother, I told you to holler at my man right here. I got a sandwich. I had a sandwich that I had to give to the brother around the corner. He in a wheelchair, right? So the dude was like, man, I ain't trying to hear all that. So I kid you not. I said, brother, if I offended you, I said, I'm sorry, right? Now he in his car in the driver's side, and he got the door like open, right? So I'm talking to him like through the door. So he got the door open, he's sitting there, I'm talking to him, right? So I said, brother, if I offended you, I'm sorry, right? This brother said, I kid you not, man. He was like, you forgiven? Then he slammed the door. He slammed the door like in my face, bro. It just drove off. Man, when I tell you, I looked back at Tyree, I said, bro, man, Israel a trip, man. They a trip. The brother could have literally, there was a sandwich there for his girl. He wanted a sandwich for the girl, but because I didn't give him the sandwich that I had in my hand, he took that as disrespect and just said, man, I ain't taking nothing. I'm gonna throw this sandwich on the ground. I'm good. And it's like, bro, he didn't say, man, hey, y'all can have it back. He didn't get it, man. He just threw it on the ground. Crazy, right? But I say all that just to say that in that situation, if I ain't had the Most High with me, I'm telling you, like for a lot of people, man, that would have been a problem. It would have been some words exchanged, things like that. But I just shook my head, man. We just kept it moving. But in that, and it was even other brothers, man, that was around when they saw it. They was just like, dang, man, I can't believe he just did that. I'm like, look, man, it's cool. But I understood. You know what I'm saying? I understood. I was like, I don't know how Moshe did it. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how. Like, I'm telling you. But that was my little testimony. What's up, Iman?
No, I was just going to say it was, and then they were upset, the ones that were there, that he did that because that sandwich could have been for someone else who actually needed some food. But you threw it on the ground out of your anger because we didn't give you what you wanted at the time that you wanted it. When you could have just either waited or did what you told him to do was go to this other brother. He got a handful of sandwiches. We still got more. Just go get one for your girlfriend who's sitting in the car. Go get it. But he didn't do that because he felt disrespected because you didn't give him what you had. And so, yeah, that was just, that's everybody was upset about that. They were apologizing on his behalf to you because I remember that because of his actions. Like, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It did. Yeah, they was just like, man, I can't believe you did that, man. I was just like, look, don't worry about it. But it shed light on it. Like in that situation, man, I understood. I was just like, if you don't have the Most High with you, man, stuff like that can get out of hand. Like you'll take it left, or you'll have stuff like that can deter you from following the Most High. Man, you can think that the assignment that you're not supposed to be on because things like that occur, things like that happen. Right, but you shouldn't allow those outside things to knock you off the path. And I learned a lot that day. It was wild. It was wild. Me and Tyree was laughing about it later when we came back, but in the moment, I couldn't believe it was happening. Like it was so crazy to me to you know what I'm saying? I'm apologizing to him, right? If he felt offended, right? And he said, you forgiven, man, slam the door. So, I mean, he forgave me. So, I guess we're good on that front. But I say all that just to say the things that we have to encounter and go through, you need the Most High with you. You know what I mean? It wasn't me who was able to withstand that, right? It wasn't me who was able to endure that. It was the Most High in me. It was His Spirit in me that allowed me to keep a level head in that situation, right? Because normally that wouldn't be my character. You see what I'm saying? Man, we got a couple more left, y'all. Let's go. Let's go to see what I want to run. Let's go to Matthew 14. And then I just got a couple one hitters I want to hit up, and then we're gonna close out. And we're gonna cover all the characteristics, y'all willing, as we go through this series. We're gonna cover all these characteristics of the fruit of the Spirit and things that war against them. Right? Like I said, with meekness, we automatically think pride, but there are so many other things that are weaponized against us to get us to that point that where we actually succumb to pride. Right? And these are just two of the things. There's other things as well, but fear and doubt is definitely one of them. Fear and doubt in his word that is going to come to pass, that he called you, that he's with you, right? Those things will bring you into a place of pride. It will bring you into a place of self-righteousness. Right, where you do what you feel will resolve a situation, or what you feel is right, and that could be detrimental to you. It could be detrimental to others around you. Right. Let's see, Matthew 14. All right, we're gonna see an example of how that doubt can cause us to slip. Right, we're looking at Peter again. Peter taking a lot of hits this week, but he or within the last couple of weeks. But hey, he walked that thing out to the end. Right, but he had to be taught up. We'll start from verse 22. It says, "And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, which he sent the multitude away." While he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent the multitude away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. Right? So he sent the multitude away. This is after he fed the people. He fed the 5,000. Right? He sends the disciples away and tells them to go ahead. And then what does he do? And he goes to spend time with the Most High. He goes to spend time with Abba. Right? And this is something that we all have to, this is learning something on the way to learning something. Right? You always need to take that time out to yourself to spend time with Abba. Right? You always need a time, convocating and coming together like this, in this manner or in person, to get into the word and rejoice together. Right? And to edify one another is a beautiful thing. And it is what we should do. The scriptures tell you we should forsake the convocation. Right? But you always have to set time aside in order to go before him by yourself to spend that time with him, to get what you need from him. Right, to receive a word from him. Hamashiach did this often. Right, so it says when he sent them away, and then he sent the multitude away. Right, this had to be a all day thing. Right, but he sends them away, sends the multitude away. Then he goes top of the mountain to pray. Right, it says, and when the evening was come, he was there alone. 24. It says, but the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. So he told them what? Don't fear. Right? Don't fear, because it is me who's walking on the water to you. Don't be not afraid. Right? Now that the fear has subsided, look at what Peter says, right? It says, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if thou bid me come unto thee on the water, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water, right? So if it be your word, or by your word, you call me unto the water, I'm coming. 29, and he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Lord, deliver me. So even though the Most High gave him the word and told him not to be afraid, because at this time, the wind is already blowing. It's already going back and forth. there was a point in time where Peter was not concerned with what was going on around him. When he heard Hamashiach's voice and he said, "Be thou not afraid, it is I." Peter wasn't concerned about what was going on around him. He wasn't concerned about the wind. Right? And so he says to Hamashiach, "If you call me into the water, I'll come into you." And he said, "Come." And so he already gave him the word that I'm bidding you to the water, and you know I got you because by my word, you're going to be walking on water like me, right? But it says that when he got onto the water, he started to what? Pay attention to what was going on around him. He started to pay attention to the wind again. He started to feel that breeze, how strong it was, and then he took his mind off of what? Hamashiach, and became afraid. And he started to doubt. We're going to read it. He started to doubt the word that the Most High, that Hamashiach had given to him, which is come into the water. Right? So now he's sinking and he crying out, "Deliver me." 31, it says, "And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore did thou doubt?" And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. So the wind was blowing the whole time. He wasn't focused on it. But when he started to focus on the wind, he got distracted and he took his mind off of the Most High. And he started to doubt the word that was given to him, that he could do this wonder, that he could walk on water, and he started to sink. Right? That fear and doubt, right? It'll cause you to lose your way, right? It'll cause you to start thinking fleshly, carnally, right? You start to become distracted. You start to get your mind off of Hamashiach, right? And you start to doubt his word. And then you got to pray for deliverance, right? Because you start thinking on your own accord, and then what happens each and every time? Man, you sink, you fall flat, you get ensnared, you get tripped up, you feel heavily burdened. And it's because you're putting all these things on yourself. You're not focusing on the word that the Most High gave you. Go ahead, Iman.
Something that I noticed that I had not noticed before was it says that, and immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him. So he had to be very close in order to be able to stretch out his hand and catch him to keep him from drowning, of which he was able to swim. So I'm not sure why he thought he would drown. But to stretch out your hand and to catch somebody, you're pretty close because my arm's length is not that far away. You were close enough to be able to see his face, and you still got so distracted and in fear that you allowed yourself to be in that place.
Right, right. And just to put it in perspective, like when they're on a sea, right? So if you think about the wind going, if you ever seen like waves or like the tide, like when the wind is like really going and how like big it gets and how like really terrifying it is. Like if you ever seen like water, you know what I'm saying? Just really going back. That's what they're walking on. Like, cause they're literally walking on the sea. So when the wind is going back and forth, you got to think that the waves and the water is just rising high. So even though he probably could swim like in that type of water, you would probably surely drown. But he shouldn't have had that fear. Is the whole point. He shouldn't have doubted because the Most High, he saw Hamashiach doing it, and then he gave him command to do the same thing. But it was because of what was going on around him that he got distracted and lost focus. Go ahead, Koti.
I think not only because of his surroundings, but he just did something he's not supposed to be able to do.
Right.
And so in his mind is, oh, I'm not supposed to be able to do this. But he's not realizing, no, it's not you doing this, right? So he just lost sight of who was actually in control of the situation for a second there, let that take hold of him.
Right. Because he's seeing Hamashiach do it, right? And then he says out of his own mouth, if you tell me to come, I'll come. Right. But it's just, like I said, is that when you're walking in this miracle, when you're walking in this word, man, sometimes you just allow yourself to get distracted and you forget the word that he gave you, the command that he gave you, what is keeping you right now. You start to lose sight of, and you start to doubt his word, and that's where you slip and where you stumble. Man, this whole thing, we talk about meekness and submitting yourself, but it's submitting yourself to obedience, submitting yourself to trusting in his word, as giving yourself over to him completely. man, that's something that there's very few people who actually commit themselves to Hamashiach on that level, to give him full control, right? And it is a process to really give him that, because he has to show you certain aspects of your life where he still doesn't have authority because you haven't given it to him yet. He has to show you certain things that you do where you're handling this situation instead of giving him control over it. He has to reveal those things to you. But when he does, man, it should be a knee-jerk reaction to give him that authority, to pray that he takes control, to pray that he covers that situation, that he gives you a peace of mind, and then to wait on his instruction to keep you in a place where you won't sink, to keep you in a place where you're not going to become ensnared, right? Where you can resist temptation. This is where he's trying to take us, but it starts with getting out of this mindset of fear, doubt, that jealousy, that bitterness, wanting those things to be cast away, wanting those things to be purged. Right? You got to really desire it. You got to really desire it in order to give him that control, because it's going to take a work. It's going to take a mighty work for some of us when it comes to some of the things that we walk in. Man, there's some people who, man, you got anger that's been sown throughout generations, and now you praying for deliverance. Man, that thing is going to take time, and it's going to be trial after trial that you got to go through in order to fully be delivered from that thing and to be perfected in that area, to where you don't just easily get given over to anger. Right? The same thing with fleshly lust. Some of these things take time because they've been sown in you for generations. It's been passed down to you. It's rooted deep. In order to pluck that out, man, there's a lot of work that the Most High got to do, but you have to give him the authority to come in and do it, to bind that strong man in order to receive that deliverance. All right, last one, y'all, then we're gonna wrap it up here. Psalms 34. Psalms 34. Yeah, that's what I want. Psalms 34. We're gonna run it from verse 1. And just take this with you, saints. With everything that we walk in, temperance, gentleness, peace, joy, all of those characteristics, there's always going to be something to try to get you out of that character, to try to get you to walk outside of the fruit. It's always going to be something. And when you pass the test, it's only going to be for a season, and it's coming right back. Right? So what we have to do and get in the habit of doing is allowing the Most High to prepare us for those battles and allowing him to war on our behalf. Both things has to happen. Just because he's going to war for you doesn't mean that you won't have to fight in some way, shape, or form. We know we had to do battle, but like I said before, it was him that was truly fighting the battle. This is why whenever we committed a transgression, we started losing. Right? Whenever we did something against his word, we started to lose, because he was truly fighting the battle, even though we were assisting. Right? So we have to allow him to prepare us for the things that we're going to have to endure, for the things that are coming up season after season that we're going to have to walk through. And we're going to have to start giving him authority over the things that we know he doesn't have control over, the things that we're still giving ourselves over to. Any form of wickedness, you got to give him control over that. Let him bind it up. Let him deliver you from that area so that you can be perfected in him. That's the only way you can keep walking this walk. Right? Because if you keep walking in his character and proclaiming his name, the trial's still going to come. The enemy's still going to come. He's still going to try to get you to worship him, no matter what. Right? Every time you pass the test, it's just gonna come stronger and stronger. It's gonna come in different forms, like we already covered. He's gonna come through different avenues, trying to catch you off guard, trying to catch you unprepared. Right? And he's gonna try to get you to submit to him, to his works. All right, Psalm 34, starting at verse 1. It says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. They looked unto him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and delivereth them. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. Oh, fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. That's to be pressed. That's a pressed spirit, contrite. To be broken and pressed down. All right. It says, many are the afflictions of the righteous. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. Got to keep your mind focused on the Most High. Lean on him in the times of struggle, of a trial. Look for him for deliverance. It says that his ears are open unto the righteous. Right? As long as you cry unto him, he will hear you and he will cover you. Right? Under no, we shouldn't be under any delusion, Zion. He says many are the afflictions of the righteous, but what? He'll deliver you from them all. Right? He'll free you from them all. He will heal the broken and contrite. All right? But we got to seek him first. We got to submit ourselves to him first. Right? In order to be delivered from these things, we have to reverence him first. Have no doubt in his word. Right? And don't allow any doubt to be sown in us from anybody, from anything. This is why stay in your word, family. Don't let anybody take you away from it. Don't let anybody tell you it's tampered with. Right? That is not the holy manuscript of Yah Almighty, our Father. Right? Believe on him. Believe on him. All right. Anybody got anything before we close out? I'm gonna do the Hebrew roll call. Honor my my brother. Anybody got anything? Anything at all? All right. I'll just start off in order. I don't even know how he do it, man. Did he just call them out at random? Because when I be seeing them in order, it's not whatever. All right. We'll start off like this. Imai, you got anything?
Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, family. I did have a little something. Let me go back to my notes. I'm sorry. First of all, when you went to Matthew, was it 10? And you read about, I was actually the same verse I had written down earlier after you did Second Corinthians 10. I wrote down Luke, where it talks about nothing is hidden that should not be revealed. And so I was grateful that the Most High kind of connected that for me, like I was in the right place. But what I had noticed when you were talking about when we were talking about Exodus and the people coming out of Egypt was something that we deal with daily, which makes us go back to things is our trauma. They had been through the trauma of being in bondage, and had it not been for that trauma, they could have thought about the fact that they were larger in number than the Egyptians that were controlling them. There were more of them than there were of the Egyptians. Because how many? I think it was like 600,000 that left Egypt. That's a lot of people. And out of that, that there were men because one, we weren't killing the men like they wanted us to. So there were men that were able to war, but yet they were afraid. They were in bondage. They were afraid of the bondage. They were afraid of those who were controlling them. So much so, in the mind that they couldn't even think that they were larger enough in number that they could overtake them. So that was something that actually came to mind. So I thought, that's what would make them relapse and go back. The other thing that came to mind was Matthew 23:37, where he talks about, O Jerusalem, if you had you known, I would have gathered you together as, a hen gathers her chicks under his wings. And that's what the Most High has always been trying to do is, had you just received me, if you would just receive me, if you would just, follow my word, be obedient, I'm going to gather you together like a hen and protect you under my wings. You will never have to worry about anything. I'm not going to let any harm come to you in that instance. So that's all I got today. Good word. Thank you so much. And Shabbat Shalom, family.
Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. And beautiful word. Man, he says that on multiple occasions. And he says on two occasions, if we had known what the Shabbat meant, right, then he would have mercy and not sacrifice. I think there's very few people who understand how important the Sabbath day is. It's not just a normal day, right? It's not just a day where we don't buy and sell and a day where we just come and get into the word. It really is a day that's been hollowed out. Whenever the Most High hollows out a day, it's a day that is covered and protected by him. It's a day where you can actually come in and receive peace and seek the Most High. That's why it's so important to keep the Shabbat in your heart, right, and in your mind. Because if you just looking at it as just a normal day, as a Saturday, then you're going to treat it as such, and you won't take advantage of how important that day is. It's really a day that is. I don't want to get too like out there, but it's a day where you're on another plane if you keep it in truth and in spirit, right? It's a day where like whatever is plaguing you throughout the week, it can't even enter in on the Shabbat because it's covered by him. If you do it in truth and in spirit, there could be certain thoughts that you get during the week that won't even approach you when you're keeping the Shabbat, right? Because it can't come in, right? It's a time for you to come in and get restored. So that what you brought out, that just brought that to mind. But good word, Imam. Koti Mitchell Lee, Moreh, what you got?
Shabbat Shalom. Great message.
Yeah.
I've been feeling kind of heavy for these past few weeks. Not sure why I've been feeling heavy, but today's message, I don't know what particularly about this message, but I feel lighter. So thank you for that, for whatever that was. And then I think the thing that I liked about, my favorite definition, my favorite definition of the word meek that I have heard is power under control. And I think about that in it's not our power, it's Yah's power. But when you really think about that, we have access to the creator of the universe. We have tons of power. Just like when Yeshua was on the cross, and you mentioned earlier, he could have called the legion of angels at any time. We have access to that power if we have enough faith and enough understanding. We have access to that same power. And so when you get to the level of true meekness, it's knowing that you have that power. And when you find yourself in a situation where you're in trial, instead of depending on your own power and your own strength, submitting it to Yah's power. And so that's my favorite definition of that. And you see that repeatedly in Yeshua and his walk. There are many times when he could have done something. And there are a couple of times when he did use his power because, when they were going to pitch him off the cliff, then he just kind of disappeared. So,
Right,
you know what I mean? But
right.
so he has access to the power. And so I just think that's cool, to have
Yeah.
that much of the fruit, to have that much self-control, to have that much love, to have that much patience, all of it to control that very aspect and to control that power and not abuse it. So yeah, thank you so much for the message, and shalom to everyone.
Hallelujah, man. You're absolutely on point. And when we read about these gifts and things like that, understand, man, these things are coming back. The only thing that's keeping us from fully manifesting the things that we even read about is that our obedience is not full. Like, we have to be fully obedient in order to receive these things and actually be able to use them. Because just like Kosi just said, man, it's power under control. A lot of these things, man, you have to be able to walk in it and use it and know when to use it. You have to be able to trust in the Most High's word and know when these things even need to be brought out. But they are coming. They are coming back as we continue to walk and as the remnant shines forth. All of these things will come back and they will be manifested in due time. It will happen. We gotta trust and believe in. But yeah, good word. Mother Barbara J. Johnson, you have anything? All right, miss you, Auntie. Love you. We heard your voice earlier, so we got you. All right. Hallelujah. The Filet T's family. All right. Oh, T, what y'all got? If anything.
We don't have anything. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, family. All right. Elder Mikael, you got anything? All right, I'll keep it going. Coty Monica, what you got, sis?
Shalom, fam.
Shalom.
I think I said everything that I really needed to say or wanted to say during the lesson. The one thing I will say is I want to make a correction. Y'all, I'm not slow-witted. When I was talking about Gideon, it was a fleece. It wasn't a carpet. As soon as I disconnected, I was like, did I say carpet? Like, they was looking good back then.
We do what you mean. You all good, sis. You all good. Appreciate you being on, too. Beautiful to have you. All right, Coach Regina, you got anything?
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, saints. Moreh Troy doing the Hebrew roll call. You know I had to stay on. Praise Yah. This message really strung together some of my string theories, my theories about sort of bearing fruit and why it's a matter of thinking of fruit in the singular, although the demonstration of the fruit is manifold. We can't doubt or suppress his word. I remember Moreh Rick did a message on what the word really is, Messiah, our Messiah, Hamashiach. But it was so different, so many different ways of perspective to understand it, and how important it is that fruit that we bear in our lives is absolutely connected to him being the seed. And we can't be like that part of that multitude in the about in Exodus, who want to live from the seed, from the word himself. Your testimony about made me phone. Okay. Well, you got my blood pressure. Anyway. But honestly, even in situations like that, we and it's been said over and over again, exercising that humility. I don't care who's doing what. There's only one Elohim. And we can't let different things like that turn us back from doing what we have to do. We count it all joy. Even if like people even accepting our gifts, a slap in the face instead of a thank. That's not going to curb our enthusiasm in our service to our master. Matthew 25 talks about the 10 virgins, right? They were all given to get that oil that comes from the olive fruit, right? Fruit. Back to the fruit spirit. I'm telling you, you were connecting these theories. That olive, the process, right? And I studied just touching on what it takes to get olive oil out of an olive. It's a big process, but it starts with crushing. Even with the last, and I wrote down that scripture. Verse 18, the Lord is the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That's a part of it. And no, there's no way around it. If we want to be among 5 wise virgins, we look at Matthew 20, what Hamashiach was talking about. He was talking about how we're going to survive in the last days. That's it. We have to pay the price for the oil. So praise Yah. Like we can't be caught slipping, right? Without our oil.
Right.
This is going to endure to the end if we just do exactly what we're being told through these wonderful words you and Moreh Rick are giving us. That's it.
All praises to the Most High. Absolutely. Thank you, sis. That was a beautiful word. And with the other virgins who weren't prepared, anybody recall that? What would you call it? Like that parable? The 5 virgins that were prepared told them to go into the world. Right? Told them to go back into the world and buy. Said they're the ones who are going to have the oil for you, but we can't give you any of ours. Right? Pretty much saying that, that's the only place that you can get it, but by the time you go and get it, what I'm saying, it's going to be done. The door's going to be shut. Right? You'll be denied entry. So we got to make sure that we're being prepared and that we're allowing the Most High to bring us. All right. Brother Trent. Trent, you got anything?
Shabbat Shalom, family. I don't have none today. Just thank you for the word. I always say good end to the week, good start to the next one. So Shabbat Shalom, family. Everybody, love y'all.
Yes, sir. Shabbat Shalom. Love you. All right. And then last, Uncle Willie, you got anything? Brother Ardeen. Anything at all?
Shalom, family. This message is so great, so good. But what comes to mind is like someone said, power under control. So I just want to thank God for His grace and mercy on this journey that He has for us and His love. And I can't thank Him enough. Man. I love you.
Love you too, Uncle Willie. You hit it right on the head. Can't thank Him enough. Can't thank Him enough. Let's not take this grace and mercy for granted. And walking the sand, man. What we know to do, that's good, man. Let's do it and allow the Most High to continue to bring us. Submit yourself to Him on a daily basis, y'all. All right. Anything last minute? Any questions, comments, concerns before we pray out? Read that 1 Corinthians 1:10. Anything at all? All right, family. Nobody has anything. I'll pray us out. 1 Corinthians 1:10, and then we'll bid each other farewell for the day, and hopefully y'all enjoy this day of rest. All right. Let us pray. Abba Yah, we thank you, glorify you, give you all the honor and the praise for the word that you brought forth on this day. We just pray that edification was had and that this word even goes out throughout the 4 corners of the world to minister unto those who are in need of it in this time. We pray right now that you would put it on the forefront of our minds to continuously submit ourselves to you. Let us come before you boldly, but let us come before you on bended knee, humble, wanting to receive your word, wanting to get to know you, wanting deliverance from the things that have us oppressed right now, from the things that have us contrite, from the things that have us broken right now. Let us seek you so that you can make us whole, so that you can heal every portion of our body. We give you all authority right now to seek us out, to deliver us, to put your word within us right now, to bring us further into this newness of life that we have walked on. We pray right now that you would teach us your ways right now. Bring forth your judgment into our houses. We welcome it, Abba. Bring your correction. Bring your correction right now according to the things that we are doing wrong. Let us receive those Let us receive that word. Let us receive that word of reproof whenever it comes to our doorstep, knowing that you are perfecting us right now. You're chastising the ones that you love right now, so that we don't reap condemnation later on right now. So we give you praise, we give you the honor, we give you the glory for your love, for your grace, your mercy, your compassion that you continuously show forth to us. Let that be in our hearts and throughout our body, so that we can show it forth to others. Every time that we walk around, let us keep that mindset that we are your vessels. We're fit for the master's use, and we show forth your glory right now. We can't give you enough thanks for just forgiving us for our wickedness, for our iniquity, for winking at our transgressions right now, and giving us an opportunity to be perfected, to do only those things which please you right now. And so as we get ready to leave each other, but never your presence, send your angels down to watch over us, keep that hedge of protection around us, keeping us from the danger seen and unseen. Give us the discernment that we need in order to combat the enemy, and allow us to remove ourselves out of the way whenever we go through tribulation, so that you can fight the battles that we're not strong enough to fight. It is when we come before you weak that we are strong, because you are our strength, Abba. And we just thank you and we love you. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. Amen. Hallelujah. 1 Corinthians 1:10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom to the family. Y'all enjoy this day of rest. All right. Love y'all.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom, family.
Love y'all.
Shabbat shalom. Love y'all.
Shabbat shalom. Love you.